Research has a lot of publications, so I trust you're in very good hands in this regard, and I've also seen you very busy writing yesterday during the panel discussions, gathering information, writing it down, so I think you're in the best hands. Apologize for that we are not keeping the order of alphabet. Normally it's like this in these general meetings that the country plates are in this order of alphabet, just for purposes of easiness, so not any member state feels insulted. So apologize for this, that some countries are not in line with the alphabet. And also that some delegations are missing their expert, frankly speaking, or their diplomat. Frankly speaking, this is also to reach a wider audience, actually, to go back to the scientist part, to the experts, that the ministries are also able to take part, to send their participants. So in this regard, please just sit next to each other if you are two, and the other country which is being represented there on the seat unfortunately has to go in the back then. But I hope this is fine for you. So, do you have some questions beforehand? Seeing none? Yeah.
So just a question on note passing. Is it possible to pass notes since it's difficult for delegates to move about? So is there someone who's going to take this over?
Thank you for the question. Yes, of course, the photographers are there for you that they pass the notes around. And also about the procedure, when you have something to address, want to be put on the general speakers list, have a motion, something like this, please put your country plate like this. Okay? If the bureau doesn't recognize you, you also may hold it up, but this is general how it goes. So just put it from horizontal to vertical. Okay?
So just to clarify, if we have a point, then we raise completely? No, because otherwise, because we would need to distinguish whether a person wants to just be put on the general speakers list or whether he or she actually wants to raise a very urgent point. Just to clarify. Or is it the same? Okay.
And the bureau the secretariat will recognize you. I'm, as an executive director, am part of the bureau, and here they are part of the secretariat, just to clarify. So for today, I will also stay up here and look also from above, okay? So I wish you a lot of fun. I wish you a lot of nice discussion, fruitful debates, and all the points you want to be addressed. I'm looking forward to also see them on the draft agenda, because we are now going to start in a few seconds with the draft agenda. Yes?
Excuse me, is that possible to demonstrate a floor plan of different delegation where they see it, it's for us to have a clear, nicer, what kind of delegations, persons were absent, whatever. And plus, I didn't get my country.
As you have been late, this is your punishment for today?
Yeah, why not? I accept it.
So Vietnam was missing. Which country else was missing? Uganda. Okay, good. Then Uganda and Vietnam. We will figure this out, no worries. And the second question was related to the ROP, right? Rules of procedure, or could you please clarify the question once more? Thank you.
You mean by missing my country tag or? The first one. The first one is, I don't know, because usually when we have this kind of conference, we have a floor plan to show like which country is sitting where, and I don't know what's the purpose, but like this is the way we usually have. So no. Well,
There's no plan where countries are sitting. Like I said, it's a alphabetic way. So you know which countries are sitting here. You can look in alphabetic matters.
Is there a way that we can find out whether there's a delegate or whether we're the only person representing the country that is in front of us, whether there's another person? And if there's no way, I would just like to shout out whether there's another delegate from the Russian Federation, because it's kind of missing one. Okay.
So, seeing no other delegate from Russian Federation. Good. So you have a lot of work to do, but also China is only one delegate is there from China. So in this regard, those countries are having a huge work. But yeah, I think it's going to be fine. Any more questions? Yes, please.
Good morning. I was looking for my expert of the United States, but I'm not able to find it. I'm alone as well.
I will look for it. But you will have Alex. Is that you want to represent China or you want to back up US?
I would like to focus on the U.S. if I have the option between China and the U.S. Thank you.
Good, then I kindly ask you to... Now you can leave the bracket of China there, but just go to US, please. Tunisia, please.
Sorry, I don't have the expert as well. So should I be alone or?
No expert for you, yes.
Okay.
But I think you will manage it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, just a question again on the rules of procedure concerning informal discussions. I'm not sure, because I was a bit confused what we have in this conference. Can we call a motion for a moderated caucus? Are there any specifications, or is this at the discretion of the Secretariat and they're going to call it off?
Those questions are going to relate it to the Secretariat and they are going to clarify it just in a few seconds. Now it's just generally your questions, missing countries, and that's it.
Good morning. Is there yield in the time? Yield in the time to the chair.
Good? Yes, please.
Since everyone's asking interesting questions, how are we supposed to pass notes on a paperless convention?
Thanks a lot for this question. Yes, actually there was supposed to be a conference app, event app, but we always spare something for continuous improvement. So in this regard, I kindly ask you to make your paper notes very small and have a neat handwriting so everybody can see and understand what you've written, and I hope that you don't waste so much paper in this regard. Okay, thank you for this point. Good. So, seeing no more questions, I leave the opening now to the Secretariat, and as I see it, I'm looking forward to your points to be addressed, to your discussions, and yeah, wish you a lot of fun, wish you interesting dialogues, and enjoy. All the best.
All right, so good morning. Also from me. So my name is Sarah, like David mentioned. I'm basically going to be the president for this conference. And before opening the session formally, I'd like to first look a little on the informal side, that maybe we look at how much experience everyone has with MEN. So who already has been to more than one conference? All right, so just to make sure that everyone heard me, who has never been to a conference? Okay. All right, so since that's the case, I was thinking maybe it's good for us to go through the rules of procedure, just to make sure that everyone understands the main points. So, I mean, you hopefully were able to kind of read a little bit through them from the Drive folder. However, I would still touch up on a couple of the most essential points. So basically, after we open after I open the session, we're gonna move forward with roll call. So roll call is basically just that your country will be called. If you're present, then you can raise your placard and say present. If you are present and voting, you just say present and voting. Basically, the difference between the two is that if you say you're present and voting, you have to vote. If you say you're present, you can still choose to abstain. All right, so if you think that you might not want to vote, or you might vote, then it's of course recommendable that you just say present rather than present and voting, because present and voting requires you to be voting, okay? So another point is basically, which was mentioned earlier, about yielding. So what's going to happen is that at the beginning of the session, we're going to have a speakers list. So everyone who wishes to speak on a certain topic can basically say that they want to be put on the speakers list. And the speakers list is basically a general discussion on whichever topic the delegate sees fit. However, there's also a possibility to make motions. So basically, motion to have a moderated caucus on the topic of water pollution, for instance. And then you guys can decide to speak on this topic for, let's say, 30 minutes, an hour, however you set the time. And then you can basically speak on this topic, and whoever suggests this topic can choose to speak first or last. And in between the first speaker and the last speaker, whoever wants to speak can speak, or basically be put on the speakers list for that topic. And being either when I ask you who wants to be put on the speakers list, you raise your placard, and if you want to be put on the speakers list at a later stage, you can also just send us a note, and we will put you on the speakers list, all right? Yes, so these are basically the most important points. If your time has not elapsed yet, in the sense that if there is the time, speaking time, let's say of 3 minutes, and you only spoke for 1.5, you can yield the time to me, as in the president, or you can yield the floor to another delegate. However, please do discuss with whoever you want to yield the time to that you will yield the time, because you know, you can't just be like, all right, now you know, I am Australia, and now I yield the time to Argentina without discussing it first. It's not possible. All right, so for the other points, I mean, we'll basically go through it during the process. If there's a point which is not clear, you can have a point of parliamentary inquiry, and then you basically ask about the rules and how the formal procedure works, okay? So that being said, I hereby will, oh, are there any questions on this point? Can you raise your placard? Thanks. Russia?
There's a point of information to the speaker in order or not, because I couldn't find it in the rules of procedure.
Is there a point of
information to the speaker? So if the speaker held the speech and I want to ask him a question, go directly to it, and then we want to wait until it's my turn to speak.
So it's basically the right to reply?
I know that as two separate things. I know the right to reply is something that, you know, if your country is insulted, then you can use
that
that.
Is true. That is true, actually. That is usually the case. However, for this conference, we changed a little bit for rules of procedure and basically made the right to reply not when your country is insulted, but rather when you want to just reply to, or basically ask a question. Okay. Are there any other questions? All right. Given that there are none, we will hereby open the session. And now my colleague is going to do the roll call. So, Micah, please. Sure.
I'll just call out the name of the country. I will just call out the name of the country, and if you're here, please tell me if you're present or present and voting. So, Algeria.
Present and voting.
Austria.
Present.
Australia. Not present, okay. Argentina.
Present.
Bhutan.
Present and voting.
Bolivia.
Present and voting.
Brazil.
Present and voting.
Bulgaria.
Present and voting.
Canada.
Present.
Costa Rica.
Present.
Is it Estonia? Yep, I can see it.
Present.
The chair is in front of the sign, sorry. Germany.
Present.
Present voting.
Iceland is present and voting. Indonesia. Ireland. Italy. Who's sitting behind Costa Rica? Okay. Mali.
Present.
Nigeria.
Present.
Portugal.
Present. I'm here for Vietnam and present.
Romania, present and voting.
Russian Federation, present.
Samoa, present.
Singapore, present.
South Africa, present.
Luxembourg, present.
Sri Lanka present.
Switzerland, present.
First,
Republic of Macedonia present.
Trinidad and Tobago present.
Turkey, present and voting.
Tuvalu, present.
United Kingdom, present.
United Republic of Tanzania, present.
So could you repeat, please?
United Republic of Tanzania.
United States, present. Morocco, present.
Spain, present and voting.
Uganda, present. Uganda.
You have to press the mic button to be heard.
Oh, sorry.
Uganda, present.
Pakistan, present.
Syria, present.
Did we miss anyone? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So just for your information, in case, also for the upcoming sessions, if you either come late or if your country is cold and you do not reply, you are not recognized as being present in this meeting, and you do have to send us a note basically stating that you're present, otherwise you will not be recognized for either speaking or voting. So before we go through the agenda, my vice president would like to have she actually has a small welcome speech prepared for you guys. So please.
Estimate guests, delegates, dear members of the Bureau, welcome to Vienna, welcome to Model United Nations on Environment and Sustainable Development. Also, welcome to Vienna International Office, the complex building hosting the United Nations office here in Austria. But also welcome, a special welcome to European Students Forum, the acronym that you see in your badge. This is the European Students Forum, who is the organizer and the organizer and the initiators of this MUN. We wouldn't be here today if it was not for this man and his team, this man called David Meinl. It was the one who did the opening yesterday and today. It was him who made that call, who sent that email. And this is something we do at European Students Forum, something that we're really proud and something that we see ourselves. We don't just sit in our buildings and attend UN meetings and be a permanent observers. We want to be relevant at European Students Forum, and we are indeed relevant, reaching out to society at large, reaching down, reaching up across the world. And you are part of this today. Now, so our mission to be part of a teaching and learning experience is about building human capacity, and this is what we are going to do in the next few days. It's going to be a learning experience. It extends to its activity, where you will be part of learning, but also teaching each other. Now we'll make a few little points to contextualize to the extent that you need it. Climate change poses an immediate and long-term threat to people and our planet. As you may know, the broad effect of climate change, like melting glaciers, rising seas, shifting patterns of drought and rain, increases in a vector-borne disease, but also the specific effect of climate change on human health are beginning to emerge. With all these issues, some institutions of the United Nations and governments are being questioned. And for that, there are leaders needed, leaders that understand these complex systems. And leaders, and I talk about leaders like you. You will be in the role to navigate but not only navigate, to understand how these systems work, how components, actors, all the actors of the society, how can you shape them and give and influence them in the way you want and in the way you think you is right. Another thing I'd like to share with you here, well, you represent your countries. You will understand how the shifting of landscapes work, how the shifting balance of power within the UN, outside the UN, and you will see how some voting powers will influence level of development in a few countries. I encourage you to ask empowering questions, not questions like who is to blame. This was from my side. And the last point I wanted to make, you saw yesterday we had amazing panelists. All of them are at the senior managerial level. And there is one reason why we are here today. So we want to, this is an extracurricular activity. We don't want to live below our potential. So if any of you is looking for new opportunities, is looking to unleash a potential, if you're looking for a job in other sense, approach to us, because use this opportunity to your advantage. Some of the panelists are great speakers, and this opportunity as well might help you to uplift or professionally, and why not financially. Thank you and enjoy. I look forward to get to know each of you. Thank you.
Thank you for that lovely speech. So just as a note, if you do send out notes, please make sure to write your country and who it goes to, because otherwise it's not very possible to reply if that is not mentioned. Yes, Maldives? Or which, sorry, could you raise your placard again?
Yeah, I sent a note because I don't have a plate for the country because Kosovo is not recognized, so it's not in the UN. That's why I also have no plate, so I just took the Maldives.
Okay. So basically, during sign up, have you signed up as Maldives?
I signed up as an NGO that is from Kosovo, and
okay, so you basically represent the NGO then?
yeah, exactly.
Yes. All right. So may you state the name of the NGO?
It's Kosovo Environmental Education and Research Center.
Okay, so Kosovo Environmental.
Yeah. Or just KERC. K-E-E-R-C. So KERC.
Sorry, just a notification from the organizer. You need you can implement the ideas of your NGO, but please represent the member states. So you will be recognized as the Maldives and not as an NGO. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, so if you did sign up as Maldives, you have to basically...
No, I didn't. No. I have no plate at all.
So, what is the issue in general? You may approach me personally. Thank you.
Yes, please do that, and thank you for letting us know. So basically, now we will be going through the agenda, and this agenda is basically not yet completed in case you want to make changes to it, if you want to add something, and you could have a look now. Is it possible to put the agenda on the screen? Is it there? Oh yeah, okay. Thank you. So we would basically look through all the points of the agenda, and if you just take 1 minute to look at it and see if you're satisfied with that. If not, then please raise your placard and suggest what other topic you would like to be discussing.
Another remark, we kindly ask you, this is like procedures go. Sorry to be this informal, but now we have this draft agenda for the points which the Bureau thinks are necessary to be put on. Nevertheless, I kindly ask everybody of you to work on this draft agenda, address the points you think are crucial for the draft agenda, which points you would like to address and would like to elaborate more. So in this regard, if you have points to be addressed, I kindly ask you to put your placard on vertically, and thank you.
The delegate of Iceland.
Yes, hi. I was thinking about the tourism. It is the fastest growing economy nowadays. If we can address sustainable tourism and how it affects, how tourism affects internal or topics mentioned on this.
Okay, so sustainable tourism
Yes.
would be okay. And do you have a preference in where this would go?
Well, it's going to impact with all of the topics mentioned on the screen. So maybe we can take tourism, in general, and see how we can minimize the impact of tourism on water, soil, and food security, pollution, and so on.
All right. Are there other points, delegate of Brazil?
Brazil would like to look favorably upon taking up forest management and combating deforestation, since this was actually also declared as one point of the agenda, since it's very important for not only Brazil but the countries. Thank you.
And where would you like to have that in the agenda?
It would be Brazil would maybe see it as a separate point, or if not, close to soil and food security somewhere. But it's actually a separate discussion.
Delegate of Costa Rica.
Costa Rica would like to put industrial agriculture and rural communities also in the points of the agenda.
Rural communities?
And industrial agriculture, as this is affecting also the soil and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Russia.
Thank you for recognizing me. In accordance with Brazil's suggestion, thank you very much, to put on forest management, I would also like to, or the Russian Federation would also like to add biodiversity, because we think that this is closely linked, and we do also believe that this should be a separate point, because biodiversity and forest management goes way beyond soil and food security. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate of Russia. Delegate of Samoa.
We would also like to add marine conservation, as we are Pacific Island state, and the marine environment is really crucial for us.
So which point?
Marine conservation?
Marine conservation.
I mean, it also relates to biodiversity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Algeria?
Yes, the delegation of Algeria would like to add water as a human right in water point.
Thank you, delegate of Algeria. Are there any other points? Brazil?
Well, Brazil would like to add a zero hunger for food security and in general how to feed the population, because we only talk about the environment.
Kindly be reminded, all the member states, those are things like water is a human right, no hunger. These are points you may address in your opening speech. Nevertheless, they are not points to be put on the agenda because we will never come on a conclusion and agreement on these terms. They are very broad, and the thing is, like, you also need to think you may address them in the resolution then, but you also should think about the feasibility in terms of that. Thank you.
Yes, Delegate Brazil. Brazil would like to come back to that because we believe that we still have to discuss national, regional, international food security policies, because we are also discussing sustainable development, not only the environmental side, which is maybe soil degradation. So how do we put forward programs which are maybe by national governments or by great institutions to feed the populations, also the working poor, the poor people who have not access to it. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah. Thank you for the input. Russia?
Thank you. Another point the Russian Federation would like to add would be on the pollution control plastics, or just in general plastics in the ocean, and indeed actually plastics on land as well. And we don't think that this is covered by hazardous substances, since it is not entirely sure whether plastics are actually hazardous. Also, we would once again like to stress the importance of introducing a new major point called biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Russia. Are there any other points on the agenda? Algeria?
Algeria would like to add groundwater management on the water point.
Groundwater management? Thank you. Are there any other points for the agenda? All right. Yes, Brazil?
Brazil would like to add desalinization for water, please. Thank you.
You would like to add what?
It's difficult to say. Desalinization.
Desalinization.
Like salt, like remove the salt from the water. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Spain?
In terms of soil and food security, we would like to add a point. It's to reduce the food loss and waste.
Thank you, Delegate of Spain. So, if there are no other additions to this agenda, we would just kindly like to ask whether there are any points on this agenda you do not want to discuss at all. Yes, Bulgaria?
Just a question. Are we sure that we are going to go through the whole agenda? And if not, maybe a suggestion that on the fourth topic relates to all member states, we should start with education, because in my opinion, in the opinion of Bulgaria, it's very important to raise people's attention and to change it to be the first point of this main point, and then to go to exchange of know-how and then continue to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate. So if there are no... Yes?
Could Spain please repeat their point for the protocol?
Yeah, we wanted to point that it's very important to reduce the food loss and the waste for food security. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there are... Okay, United States?
The United States would like to add to the agenda the poverty control.
Poverty control, to which point should it be addressed?
To the topics common to all the countries.
Okay, Delegate of Russia?
Point of information to the to the chair, sorry, to the president, I guess. In the fourth topic, topics related to all member states, we've now listed public education and education. Is this, do we believe that there's a difference? And if so, the Russian Federation would like the delegation of Bulgaria to explain it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bulgaria.
In our opinion, education could be spread to all ages, and therefore it's an important topic to be discussed more urgently.
Okay, does that clarify your question, Russia?
No, the Russian Federation would like the delegation of Bulgaria to repeat their reasoning. Thank you.
Raising public attention in all environmental topics, it's a very important issue according to Bulgaria, and therefore we think that it should be on the first small point to the fourth main point, move upwards.
If it is still in order, the Russian Federation would like to clarify their question.
Yeah, what is the clarification?
The Russian Federation does believe that public education and education on environmental matters is important, but we do not understand the necessity to do public education and education especially because they're reductive. Thank you.
Okay, the clarification is the following, because environmentalism is a recent topic and recent issue, and it is clear for the younger generations that it will be their future. It is not that clear for the older generations, so Bulgaria is stating that they should be addressed as well in order to change their attitudes more quickly. Thank you very much.
All right, so is that point clear now, Delegate of Russia?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Delegate of Indonesia?
Thank you. Indonesia would like to add in the water section, water and sanitation, because sanitation is a critical part to support, especially in the village level. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Indonesia. Delegate of Brazil?
Yes, thank you. The delegate of Brazil has some concerns with the structuring of the water chapter because we see there, for example, the first point, it's not clear to us what it refers to, because if it refers to groundwater volumes, to the quantity, then this would be covered by groundwater management, but if water preservation refers to the ecological status of rivers, then maybe we should do a point of, as we have a groundwater management, maybe a river and watercourse management instead, and also water supply and groundwater management. We see it's a bit, groundwater management is maybe part of water supply, maybe we should do a point also of water demand, since we have a water supply point. So just to clarify that the structure could be improved. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Brazil. So are you basically unsure of what the different points, what exactly should be discussed in these points? Yes?
We see the points as interlinked. They are not defined in a clear enough way. So we were saying that water preservation as a point is not clear enough. Maybe it should just be removed and instead do as we have groundwater management, also river management, and also we can stay with water supply, but we would also welcome water demand. Since we have the one side, we could also have the other.
Okay, so basically, okay, thank you, Delegate of Brazil. So basically, water supply and water demand. Concerning the point of water preservation, we would vote on this real quick. Do all delegates have the same opinion of Brazil and do not believe that water preservation is thorough enough? If yes, please raise your placards now. Well, all right, this is a simple majority, so this point does go through. If there are suggestions on how the point of water preservation should be changed, please do let us know. Simula?
I would also like to add another point, because for us natural hazards or disasters are also a big thing, so that should be on the agenda as well.
Sorry?
Natural disasters, hazards.
Okay, so basically, just for clarification, the point of water preservation will not be on the agenda now. The point of water preservation will be removed. Okay, thank you for that. And the point of natural disaster would also be added. Are there any other points on the agenda? Costa Rica?
Maybe we can put river water, inland waters, and sea water as own points instead of the water preservation, as this has been removed.
Okay, so would that basically be then the what type of discussion on river water, sea water, and inland water would you have in mind then?
The water preservation of this. I was not sure if this was the point Brazil wanted to discuss or go on.
Okay, thank you, Delegate of Costa Rica. We can, for now, add this to make it clearer. Also, please be aware we will stop discussing the agenda within 5 minutes, and so we can go on to actually discussing the topics. So, delegate of is it? Sorry.
We would suggest replacing it with freshwater security, covering groundwater and surface waters.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
We would suggest replacing it with freshwater security, groundwater and surface waters. And also, I can't see from here, but is there anything on the list to do with renewable energy or like low emission energy? As Trinidad and Tobago highly relies on oil and gas, and we would like to diversify, but we do not have the technical capacity and knowledge capacity to do this.
Yes, so the point renewable energy is already on this agenda. Looking at the suggested other point, it was freshwater security, groundwater, and...
Yeah, freshwater security covering both groundwater and surface waters.
Okay, so we could combine the points of you and raised by also Costa Rica, covering freshwater security and preservation for river waters, groundwaters, sea waters, and inland waters.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Canada.
It was basically the same point.
Okay, thank you. Delegate of Germany.
Thank you very much. Germany is suggesting also to this water topic, maybe we should sum up flood management, groundwater management, water demand and water supply into integrated water resources management.
Okay, so the point was to have flood management, ground management, and
Water supply and demand.
water supply and demand is already...
Yeah, so we should sum it up into one major point, which is called integrated water resources management.
Just a point of clarification. It is now to put points on the agenda. About the structure, we will deal later.
Delegate of Brazil.
President would like to ask why there is 2 times biodiversity in the agenda in soil and food security and in pollution. Are we going to discuss it twice? Thank you.
Thank you for pointing this out. We will be removing either one.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Russia?
Thanks a lot. The Bureau is using their veto right in terms of the Secretariat. As it has been addressed biodiversity by the member states, it will be staying there in both. Thank you.
The point of the Russian Federation actually is involved to that point. Both the delegation of Brazil and the Russian Federation already stressed that they want biodiversity to be another major topic. That is why it is listed separately in different topics. The delegate of the Russian Federation doesn't know the procedure on how to introduce another 5th point, I guess, or maybe 4th point, and then just shift the topics related to all member states to a 5th point. And that 4th point would then be called biodiversity. The Russian Federation doesn't know whether we have to vote on such issues or whether that will be introduced at another time, and would like to have some clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Russia. So, if you would like to discuss the topic of biodiversity in a larger scope, we could put it to the 4th topic, topics related to all member states. If all members, however, do think that it's necessary to have this as a whole separate topic, we can also vote on this. So, which member states believe that it's fine if it's put on 4th? Which member states believe that it's adequate to put it on the 4th topic, topics related to all member states? Please raise your placards.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. Are we voting on putting biodiversity on the topics related to all member states, or whether we're putting it on as a 5th major point, or are we just voting whether we're putting it in the 4th topic or just
4th topic.
getting it out? Okay.
Thank you. So please, all member states, raise your placards again if you want to add to the 4th topic. All right, this passes, and basically we'll put biodiversity into the 4th topic rather than having it 2 separate ones. Anyway, for all the topics, just for your information, it will basically be up to you how much you want to discuss each topic, right? So if you feel that biodiversity is a very pressing issue, you are able to talk about it at a longer caucus. So, given that the last 5 minutes of discussing the agenda have lapsed, Kennedy, do you have a last point?
Yes, please. I'm a bit wondering about the point of freshwater preservation for waterways and seawater. Can seawater actually be freshwater? I kind of be a little bit confused there. I would just do freshwater preservation and as 2 sub-items, groundwater management and surface water management.
So groundwater management is actually a point we already have.
Yes, but I would do freshwater preservation and then just as sub-items, like under pollution, groundwater management and surface water management.
Delegate of Indonesia?
Yes, thank you. Indonesia would like to suggest to add waste management in pollution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. So, given that this was the last point on the agenda, we will now move forward. It is still possible for you to all right, so delegates, we will basically be voting on this agenda now and see whether this passes. If it passes, then this will be the basis of our agenda for this MUN. So please, all delegates in favor of passing the agenda in this form, raise your placards now.
Before we go into voting procedure, so we still need to discuss the structure of the agenda. If every delegation, if each member state is fine with the structure, we can go into voting procedure. Thank you.
Okay, so is every delegate fine with the structure of this agenda? Great, lovely. So now we will vote on the adoption of the agenda. So please, delegates, everyone who is fine with the agenda in this form, raise your placards now. All right, this passes and the agenda has been adopted. All right, so now that we have an agenda for this session, the speakers list is hereby open. And this basically means that if there are delegates who would like to speak on a certain topic, you are able to freely decide what is more important. Of course, it should be according to agenda, hence the topic of water should come first. So if there are speakers wishing to speak on this topic, it's possible, and please be reminded that you can also suggest a moderated caucus on a certain topic, which will be the fixed topic for that certain period of time. So are there any speakers wishing to speak at this point? Delegate of Estonia?
I would like to suggest to upload this agenda to the drive, just to, if someone has bad eyesight, that they can check on the drive.
Sorry, I did not hear this.
I would like to suggest to upload this
Oh, yes.
on the drive.
Yeah, we will be uploading the agenda on the drive. Thank you very much. And given that actually everyone has written a position paper, we would highly be fond of everyone having a very short opening statement, opening speech. So we would be doing that according to alphabetical order before starting with the speakers list. So the delegation of Algeria would start, and we would suggest that everyone has around 30 seconds, given that we are 39, that there are 39 delegates. Are there any objections on the speaking time? Delegate of Algeria?
Can be 2 minutes.
2 minutes would basically mean that it would be a little bit more than an hour just for the opening speeches. So we do believe that that's a little too long. Delegate of 1 minute. All right, 1 minute. 1 minute should be okay. Yes, so we can make it 1 minute, the opening speeches. So we will be starting with the delegation of Algeria. So it's not actually necessary for you to go to the front. So please just do it from your seat. Okay, before the statement, the United States, do you have a point?
The United States proposed 90 seconds.
90 seconds. Okay, I think 90 seconds would be very long, so 1 minute might already be, 40 minutes in total would be sufficient, should be sufficient for everyone. So we will stick with 1 minute for now. And of course, you can still make points on each topic, right? So you should basically only sum up what's very important for your country and the essential points for your country. Okay, so Delegate of Algeria, you now have the floor for 1 minute.
Just a point of clarification once more. Please, when you're finished with your speech, just turn off the mic. It also goes to the Secretariat so we can see each representative. Thank you. Just turn off the microphone when you're done with your speeches.
Thank you. Honorable chairs, honorable delegates, the Algerian delegation is honored to take part in this conference. As we all know, climate change is the main reason of lack of water and food insecurity and all the environmental issues. Climate change has no borders. It is threatening all of us, and we have to end up by real solutions and start taking actions. Algeria is the biggest country in North Africa and one of the victims of climate change, but our government started working to solve this issue and getting more involved with the UN programs. In 1962, when Algeria got independence from the French colony, was completely destroyed and the forests burned. We are proud of what we have done so far, and during this conference, we will talk about more details. Hopefully, we will collaborate together to save our planet, to save our existence. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria. Also for your information, if you have 5 seconds left, I will hit the hammer once. If your time has elapsed, I will hit it twice. Austria, you have the floor.
Dear President, dear delegates, the Republic of Austria is honored to participate in this conference today. As a member state of the European Union, Austria already has made major efforts to reach its goals to protect this world from accelerating climate change. A large part of our territory is covered by the Eastern Alps, so we are very vulnerable to the smallest effects in climate change. This is reflected in the overall change in temperature of the Alps of about 2 degrees since the 19th century. This leads to the acceleration of the melting of our glaciers and other major impact in our fauna and flora in the Austrian Alps. With the melting of the glacier, there's a huge setting free of CO2 and therefore further acceleration of climate change. So we'd like to underline the importance of fighting climate change and acting here together fast in order to reach our goals. Thank you.
Delegate of Austria, Delegate of Argentina, you now have the floor for 1 minute.
Dear Honorable Chair, dear Honorable Delegates, I'm very happy to be here with you at this conference to talk about the issue of climate change. And as Argentina covers a large area of different ecosystems and various climates, we're of course very affected by climate change. As in the Andes, we face similar problems as Austria and the Alps with glacier melting, and we are very dependent on the water supplied by the Andes, we also face this as a major problem by climate change. Our food security is mainly based on our own agriculture, which is also depending on this water which is coming from the Andes, and we hope to find solutions by negotiations and regulations on a worldwide basis, as we have these kind of problems almost everywhere. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you, Delegate of Argentina. Delegate of Bhutan, you have the floor now.
Dear Honorable Chair, dear Honorable fellow delegates, I'm very happy to be here, and I think it's really important also for Bhutan, but also for everyone on the world, to discuss this topic and to find solutions together. We face especially threats due to melting glaciers, because there might be floods related to glacial lake outburst floods. And yeah, we would like, because we are actually carbon negative, and also as yeah, many of you might know, we have also gross national happiness index, which also is directly related to preserving the environment and secure a good life quality for everyone. And we think it's the responsibility for everyone, but also for us to find sustainable solutions. And yeah, we will also discuss migration and sustainable tourism, especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Bolivia, you now have the floor.
Dear chairs, dear delegates, Bolivia feels also very honored to be here at this conference. Climate change is a huge problem. 1/3 of Bolivia's area is in the Andean highlands, where water supply is endangered in future and already nowadays. Longer droughts are expected for the future, and therefore also agriculture in these areas is highly affected. That is why we want to collaborate here with the other states to mitigate climate change and also to develop strategies in our region to adapt to climate change. So we are looking forward to the collaboration.
Thank you, Delegate of Bolivia. Delegate of Brazil, you now have the floor.
Thank you. Honorable chairs, distinguished delegates. The delegation of Brazil is very honored to be here, and we are very glad to be discussing all these very important issues that concern our international community. And as you probably know, Brazil is the 5th biggest country in the world, and thus we are very conscious of our responsibility to act together and to develop solutions, common solutions to environmental issues. And of course, Brazil is a difficult country. We are a big country. We have many populations, many ecosystems, and this brings up naturally additional challenges. But Brazil has also been developing solutions, be it in forest management, be it especially in environmental pollution control, or especially in food security, where we have developed many programs that we are willing to share with others. We've been cooperating in Latin America with other countries, sharing our knowledge, especially in school programs. So we are very willing to discuss these topics, also to link different topics like nature, water, and food, and to develop solutions together. So we are looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Brazil. Delegate of Bulgaria, you now have the floor.
No, Honorable Chair, Honorable Delegates, Bulgaria has environmental history since 1936 and its first normative decree law on the protection of people's nature, and through most recently its national strategies, action programs and strategic plans is dedicated to be an active partner and cooperate for solving all the environmental issues in terms of the global humanity. Above all of those issues, Bulgaria recognized as the most important one the transitions to a low carbon economy, which is a message that Bulgaria wants to spread and to be addressed in the further discussion. I think this is this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate of Bulgaria. Delegate of Canada, you now have the floor for a minute.
Thanks. Dear Honorable Chair, dear Honorable Delegates, Canada is honored to participate. Climate change and sustainable development are important points for the world. Although it affects all of us different. For Canada, the key concern are extreme weather events. Even though Canada withdrew from the Kyoto Protocol, we look forward to other approaches out of this conference. We are looking definitely forward to discuss with you the food security, water security, and soil security. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Now the Delegate of Costa Rica has the floor for a minute.
Thank you, Honorable President, Honorable Delegates. Remarking that our environments are facing major problems currently, we, the representatives of the world, found together today. The long success story of environmental protection in Costa Rica has majorly begun with the abolishment of armed forces in 1948, where enormous amounts of money have been invested in renewable energies, not there but today, and in educational programs. And with the forest law and the funding project, we managed to increase forest coverage to 52% of the total surface today. 25% of our total surface is national parks, and this leads to us to having the highest biodiversity in the world today. We want to also mention our ambitious goals for the future. We want to implement a financing program for environmental services.
Thank you, Delegate of Costa Rica. Your time has elapsed. Delegate of Estonia, you now have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Estonia is very honored to be able to participate in this conference. We understand that
our country is considered controversial regarding climate change, but we understand our responsibility in this topic, and we are very willing to work together to find solutions. Estonia has history with food security issues. We experienced hunger after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Also, water security. Water is a crucial issue of us. Mining causes pollution for groundwater, and soil can be soil is also polluted by mining. So this is important to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate of Estonia. The delegation of Germany now has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Honorable President, the Excellencies. Germany is honored to be part of this conference. Achieving water and food security is one of the major challenges faced by the society, both on a global and a local scale. The latest global agreements, such as the SDGs, or the Paris Agreement on climate change, relate substantially to questions concerning the food energy nexus. The coalition treaty of the current German government states that Germany is clearly committed to these global agreements, especially the Paris Climate Agreement. Germany tries to come up with solutions on the national but also on the international scale. The long tradition of engineering, science, and the motivation to combine academics and practitioners is aimed to build a bridge between disciplined sectors, different groups of stakeholders. This bridge is absolutely necessary to achieve water, food, and energy security in dynamic environments at the minimum of ecological cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Germany. The Delegate of Indonesia now has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable President.
Oh, apologies.
Sorry.
I apologize, Indonesia. I thought that was a delegation. Delegate of Iceland, you now have the floor for 1 minute.
Dear President, dear delegates, thank you for acknowledging us. Although we are the least populated country in Europe, we are part of the climate global decision. Tourism has been increasing exponentially on our island from about 600,000 people visiting the island in 2011 to about 2 billion last year. And we are facing direct challenges of climate change, and our glaciers are retreating every single year, kilometer by kilometer. We are proud to be part of the discussions and decisions.
Thank you, Delegate of Iceland. The Delegate of Indonesia now has the floor.
Thank you, Honorable President and distinguished delegates. Indonesia is honored to be part of this conference. The government of Indonesia considers climate mitigation and adaptation effort as an integrated concept that is essential for building resilience and safeguarding food, water, and energy resource. As climate change becomes a reality, Indonesia must continue to seek a balance between its current and future development and poverty reduction priorities. With over 260 million people, we are now the world's fourth most populous country in the world. And as the largest country, archipelagic country in the world, Indonesia also needs to articulate its maritime vision in its development priorities. So with its crucial geographic position in the global ocean conveyor belt and its extensive tropical rainforest, high biodiversity, high carbon stock value, and energy mineral resources, Indonesia recognizes a role to play in combating climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Indonesia. The Delegate of Ireland now has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, honorable delegates, it is an honor for me to be part of this conference. Climate change is a very important topic for Ireland. Measurements against the ongoing pollution of the sea and the rising temperature of the sea is very important for Ireland as an island. Food security is also important. It's also an important subject. Recently, Ireland has achieved to be the #1 country for food security. Ireland is also concerned about the deforestation and the loss of biodiversity, and we hope that we can find global solutions together in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Ireland. The Delegate of Italy now has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. President, Excellencies and delegates. Italy is very honored to be part of this important meeting. In many parts of Italy, particularly in the south, it has become ever more difficult to meet demand for water. Recent years of drought and the constant increase of water demand for the civil sector have made irrigation supply more problematic. Wastewater reuse could represent a viable solution to meet water demand. Several projects on wastewater reuse are currently in progress. A higher frequency of dry periods is a phenomenon already well established. The economic damage to agriculture, particularly in the Po Valley, with its extensive irrigation may become considerably. Increased demand on water resources from new and diversified users is probably the main cause of reduced water availability in the northern Italy main basins. This reduction cannot be justified only on the basis of precipitation data that, especially in northern Italy, show a scarcely significant trend. During the summer season, this situation gives rise to recurrent water resource allocation problems.
Thank you, Delegate of Italy. The Delegate of Pakistan now has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, President. Dear President, delegates, Pakistan is very happy to be part of this conference. Pakistan is a country with a population of about 220 million people and the large area covering the agricultural land, deserts and the glaciers and the high mountains of Hindu Kush Himalaya region. On the other hand, Pakistan is among the most vulnerable countries with respect to the climate change impacts. We are facing the challenges of adverse impacts in form of heat waves, flash floods, food security and the glacier melting. The frequency of these events is increasing every year, and the early winter smoke in South Asia has become a serious challenge for the region. Government of Pakistan is working to solve these issues and looking forward to other countries in the region to have integrated effort to work on air pollution and transboundary pollution issues with the other countries of the region. And Pakistan is also the
Thank you, Delegate of Pakistan. Your time has elapsed. The Delegate of Mali now has the floor for 1 minute. Dear Chair of the conference, dear delegates, as a delegate from the Republic of Mali, I'm very happy to be in this conference and to discuss an important environmental topic. Since 30% of our population still suffers from malnourishment, food security is a pressing issue for us. Our country is highly dependent on agriculture. Therefore, soil degradation is a high risk to our country, and the effects of climate change will enhance this problem. We won't be able to combat those negative impacts by ourselves. We will need not only financial support, but also technical know-how to establish a sustainable agriculture, to ensure food security and to end hunger in our country. I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion about this today. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate of Mali. Also for all delegates, actually, as not mentioned earlier, please always refer to yourself in the third person, since you basically represent your country, so you never say I. Okay. Now the Delegate of Nigeria has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the Federal Republic of Nigeria is one of the most populous countries in the world, and we have a growing population. Therefore, we have increasing demand for the natural resources and for space for expansion. But we are facing major environmental problems, such as deforestation, soil erosion, and landslides, flooding, as well as droughts due to changes in precipitation as a result of climate change. Another big problem, environmental problem, is the oil production, with gas flaring and oil spills. We seek collaboration and a fruitful discussion to secure the future of our population. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. And now the Delegate of Portugal has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, 11% of global population, or more than 800 million people, go hungry today, even though there are more than enough food produced for everyone. 40 billion pounds of garbage, mostly plastic, is dumped into the oceans every year, causing the rise of water pollution globally. And somewhat of 15 million people within the next 10 years could be displaced by desertification and land degradation. Without proper action, efficient and effective regulation in place, the violation of human rights to a healthy and ecologically balanced human living environment will be continued. Our duty is to defend and put forward solutions designed to realize these environmental rights. Portugal stands in unison with global efforts to halt biodiversity loss, protect our water systems, and improve food security, and looks forward working with other member states based on genuine shared responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Portugal. Now the delegate of
Vietnam.
Thank you. Vietnam has the floor for 1 minute.
Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, the delegation of Vietnam is honored to be a participant of this conscious debate as the issues of climate change and all its alleged consequences become an increasingly important point in the life of every human being. The environmental issue is by its nature a deeply unfair issue, often influencing the poorest, weakest, and most vulnerable of our societies. In this room, we are all familiar with the statement of equality of all humans in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Sadly, we are probably also conscious of the many problems there are in implementing this. We must therefore remember the transnational nature of the environmental issue and of the global human society in our discussions as the United Nations. The delegation of Vietnam strongly believes in the responsibility of every nation in contributing to mitigation and sustainable measures to ensure preservation of biodiversity and the right to life security. The delegation of Vietnam is looking forward to a fruitful and innovative conference, and solutions and new perspectives will arise.
Thank you, Delegate of Vietnam. Now the delegate of Romania. Thank you,
Dear
Romania.
delegates and honorable chairs, post-war times saw Romania deal not only with a broken system, broken people, but also with a broken ecosystem. Much of the surface waters were polluted, some cities were left jobless, and with such pollution that even nowadays sees people there affected and with higher mortality rates. Since becoming an EU member state, Romania saw its environmental sector gain more political and social stage. The delegate admits that the country is backward in terms of technological advances such as water and waste management. Thus, its advancement needs large-scale political cooperation and support from other EU countries and the EU itself. The delegate of Romania hopes that this conference will discuss challenges and yield solutions. The delegate would like to end with this quote from the Venus project founder, Jacques Fresco, who is a utopian, and who said, "The shape and solution of the future rely totally on the collective effort of people working together. We are all an integral part of the web of life." Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Romania. Now the Delegate of Russia has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. Honorable President, esteemed delegates, dear staff, today launches the 24th session of the COP to the UNFCCC. With climate change proceeding and taking ever higher tolls, we, the international community, need to take action. The Russian Federation believes that it is time to put aside our petty differences and come to the table, even though other delegations have failed to do so in the past. With every third tree located in Russia, we've always been a driver of environmental sustainability. Moreover, last year, 2017, marked the Year of Ecology in Russia. For example, we recently implemented the principle of using the best available technologies, as well as a new waste management system. Other objectives were the protection of the Baikal natural territory, conservation of water resources, and development of the protected area system. 2017 featured the creation of 7 national parks, 2 state natural reserves, and 2 federal wildlife reserves. Finally, the Russian Federation and this delegate in particular would like to emphasize the importance of this session and we're looking forward to fruitful debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Russia. Now the Delegate of Samoa. Thank you. Samoa has the floor for 1 minute.
Dear Honorable Chair and delegates, Samoa is also really pleased to be here at the conference to participate. Thank you very much. And as you all know, Samoa is a small remote nation state in the Pacific between Hawaii and New Zealand. And we are one of the most vulnerable nations to climate change because we are going to be the ones who will feel the impact directly, and probably one of the first ones as well. We are really prone to natural disasters, which of them weather and climate related. and we are also facing huge forest loss. And since the arrival of the Polynesians 3,000 years ago, we've already lost 80% of our forests. We would also like to address pollution and marine conservation, as our coral reefs surrounding our islands are really crucial for our economic development. And we are also, together with other island states in the Pacific, we work towards climate change adaptation. And we are really looking forward to participate and hope for international cooperation.
Thank you, Delegate of Samoa. The Delegate of Singapore now has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you very much, honorable chairs and fellow delegates. The delegation of Singapore believes that the key to solving its problems on an environmental scale is the enhancement of technology. Due to the fact that we are a small island country, environmental problems have stood on our agenda for a long time, and we were able to make big leaps toward a sustainable future. Financially, we have an exceptional status, and we see the need, as we as well are willing to invest in technological research to change the ways of living in the future. As a result of climate change, natural resources are becoming less reliable, and independence from weather, as well as international relations, is crucial for our sustainability. Enabling cross-disciplinary collaboration among our community members, as well as financing research and development, will lead on a development that will maintain our high standards of living in the future. Furthermore, we focus on the importance of education, of educating our population, and to make sure the movement begins with the people themselves and is additionally supported by our government. We hope to improve international relations to be able to help other countries with our research and technology. This delegate is hoping for a constructive debate today to solve our pressing issues. Thank you very much. Thank you, distinguished delegates from Singapore. Let's continue with South Africa, please. Thank you.
Good morning, President and fellow delegates. My name is Elise, I'm from Belgium, and I'm here to represent South Africa during this Model United Nations conference. South Africa is facing a lot of issues regarding climate change. You have probably already heard of Day Zero. It is the day when the first major city in the world, Cape Town, would run out of water. While drought is a factor in the city's water scarcity, the degree of drought has been questioned. It is believed water scarcity caused by the drought is being exacerbated by population growth, potentially unreported agriculture use, invasive species, and poor planning of water management. Scientists believe that this once-in-a-millennium drought is being exacerbated by climate change with a 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature over the past century. Models predict Cape Town will increase another 0.25 degrees Celsius in the next 10 years, which would increase drought likelihood by up to 7 times. This situation makes South Africa more vulnerable to climate change and has to take urgent action. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, the distinguished delegates from South Africa. Now we continue with the delegates with the delegation of Luxembourg. Please, the floor is yours.
Dear President, Excellencies, participants of the Model United Nations Conference, as the last years have shown us how global warming impacts whole nations in a negative way, I think that we can all agree that at this point, denying climate change is like denying that gravity exists. All scientists agree that polluted air is also a very big issue nowadays. If we are in an area where polluted air is present, it may lead in its worst situation to strokes, heart attacks, or medical issues. Sustainable energy technologies that offer a more green environment are the future. We, as the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, want to present the new electric streetcar project in Luxembourg. Keep in mind that the capital of Luxembourg City only has an area of 52 square kilometers. Because of the decreasing air quality in Luxembourg City, which was primarily caused by the thousands of people who take the car to work, the project of a streetcar was a very successful addition to the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. On the 10th of December 2017, the new streetcar had its first drive. The tram has been built with the objective to combine mobility with ecology on its highest level. The new electric streetcars have replaced 60% of the buses in Luxembourg by now, and we hope to be able to motivate more people to take the streetcars instead of their own cars. Furthermore, since the tram's inauguration, the number of people using a car to get to work has decreased by 22%, which is very good news. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the distinguished delegates from Luxembourg. We continue with the delegation of Sri Lanka. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Presidency, fellow delegates.
Sri Lanka is really pleased to participate in this conference on environmental development. With one of the most diversified environments in the world, Sri Lanka sees the challenging of environmental problems as a very important subject where all countries have to conduct further and substantial measures. At the same time, we see it as very important to provide the basis of life for all people, regarding over 800,000 people in Sri Lanka living in poverty. Therefore, Sri Lanka would like to emphasize the importance for the conduction of measures which unite the protection of environment as well as providing a substantial life for all people. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the delegation of Sri Lanka, and now we proceed with Ireland. Switzerland.
Dear President, dear delegates, environment and climate change is an important matter to both the Swiss government and the Swiss population. We particularly care about our melting glaciers, water, soil and air quality. We aim for a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 20% by the year 2020 in our country. Nevertheless, as we are responsible for less than 0.1% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, we aim for an international solution. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Okay, now the delegation
of the Republic of Macedonia. Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, as a vital element in all ecosystems and a crucial part of agricultural production and industrial processes, the availability of water resources is essential for human survival and development. Therefore, this delegate believes that ensuring the future availability of water resources is a challenge that must be tackled urgently by every state. The Republic of Macedonia's country strategy of sustainable development focuses on conserving and managing natural resources, promoting sustainable consumption and preventing the environmentally harmful effects of economic growth and using cleaner energy to mitigate climate changes. In this regard, this delegate strongly encourages the implementation of measures to halt the global climate changes, measures to ensure the availability of water resources, and measures to ensure sustainable economic growth. This delegate of Republic of Macedonia has faith that this conference will be fruitful and very productive, and calls upon all other nations to join hands in the coming days and provide practical solutions to be implemented in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate of Macedonia. The delegate of Tobago, now has the floor.
Honorable Chair, members and delegates, as the leading small island developing state greenhouse gas emitter and the second highest emitter per capita in the world, Trinidad and Tobago recognizes its responsibility in decreasing its emissions and diversifying from oil and gas, which currently accounts for 66% of the country's export revenue and is responsible for 56% of all emissions. Trinidad and Tobago is committed to its pledges made under the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement. We must take further steps towards sustainable development and to protect our natural resources and related industries, tourism, fisheries and agriculture, and our people and infrastructure against the effects of climate change. We are here to ask for support in terms of building both financial and technological capacity required to meet our commitments within the stipulated deadlines and to bring about the changes needed for our globally mutual benefit. We hope for fruitful discussions and come to a mutual agreement within these latest talks. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Now the delegate of Turkey has the floor for 1 minute.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegation of Turkey is honored to be present in this conference. Turkey, being a founding member of UN, has a growing economy and continues to grow. Turkey has a population of 80 million people and covers a surface area of 780,000 square kilometers and divided in 7 geographical regions. The government of Turkey is firmly dedicated to take action for the effective implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the objectives of which are reflected in Turkey's national and international endeavors. Turkey welcomes the universal and integrated nature of the Sustainable Development Goals and embraces the no one left behind principle of this highly ambitious agenda. To successfully implement it,
Turkey will accelerate its efforts to cooperate and engage a wide range of stakeholders, including academia, civil society organizations, and private sector at local, national, and international levels. The capacity is considered the next step for the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Government of Turkey firmly aims to build on and address the unfinished business of the Millennium Development Goals in order to implement Sustainable Development Goals in the best possible way for the next 15 years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Also, some information. Usually when the time has elapsed, I will always let the delegate finish their sentence. So if the sentence is very long, then it's a long sentence, but just for you to also know for your speeches. And now the delegate of
Tuvalu.
Thank you. Tuvalu has the floor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to participate in this conference and speak for the nation of Tuvalu. Tuvalu is an archipelago in the South Pacific, and although it is the fourth smallest nation in the world in terms of land area, it is very crucial for the nation to be represented, as the future of the islands at Tuvalu is at risk. With no point lying higher than 4.5 meters above the sea level, the rising sea level due to climate change poses a major threat. Water and soil are scarce resources in Tuvalu. As there are no streams or rivers on the islands of Tuvalu, the nation depends on the collection of rainwater. But due to changing weather patterns, there is less rain and fresh water is lacking. Soil loss is another threat, as soil coastal erosion is occurring due to flood and higher tides. This impacts food security as well. As you can see, Tuvalu is very vulnerable to climate change. Tuvalu is very ambitious and aims for zero emissions in 2025, but it depends on the international commitment to reduce greenhouse gases and in order to ensure its existence.
Thank you, Delegate. Now the Delegate of the United Kingdom has the floor for 1 minute.
Dear Honourable Chair and Delegates, the United Kingdom is like every other country impacted by climate change. Vulnerable regions are coastal regions affected by storms and flood. Our goals are to eliminate avoidable waste, the creation of new habitat for endangered species, the support of farmers to turn their fields into meadows and replenishing depleted soils. Moreover, we have to improve our water quality. Air pollution is an important topic to the United Kingdom too, because we are one of the largest global greenhouse gas emitters. Indeed, we are projected to go significantly beyond our Kyoto commitment and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Climate change is a global problem that requires a global solution. That is why we set out our strategy for both international and national action. If we ignore it, the climate change will have profound impact on our society, agriculture and food security. It will lead to a shortage of water and impact on our economy and security.
Thank you, Delegate. Now the Delegate of Tanzania has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Delegates. The risks associated with climate change are already evident in various economic sectors essential for Tanzania's livelihood and sustenance, including water resources, energy generation, food security, ecosystems, biodiversity, and human health. In the most vulnerable communities, the impacts of climate change poses a direct threat to people's survival. Recent studies project that the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events will increase, causing severe socio-economic consequences, particularly to the marginalized groups in society. Developing countries such as Tanzania are particularly vulnerable because of their high dependence on climate-sensitive livelihood activities and low adaptive capacity. Therefore, the United Republic of Tanzania hopes for a productive debate and meaningful solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Now the, could you raise your question? United States has the floor for 1 minute.
Honorable Chairs and fellow delegates, this delegation is honored to be here today. As you all know, the United States has always been torn between the role of the most wasteful consumer society of the world and yet being one of the first countries to have launched an environmental policy. In the last 40 years, the US led the world towards some of the most important agreements on climate change, and it currently has the potential to guide the global transition to renewable energy. The delegation of the United States hopes that this conference will be able to promote the use of renewable resources by spreading awareness that they are not only necessary to target the challenge represented by climate change, but they are also a wise choice for governments and corporations in terms of cost effectiveness. Moreover, this delegation considers the identification of measures to mitigate climate change effects and to reduce waste as priorities. On the occasion of the recent opening of the President in charge to stay in Paris Agreement, this delegate hopes that we will be successful in finding productive solutions to encourage corporations to adopt the environmental management system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now the delegate of Morocco has the floor for 1 minute.
Honorable Chair, distinguished fellow delegates, we were given the opportunity to speak on behalf of Morocco. The North African country of Morocco is home to almost 35 million people. However, Morocco is dependent on external energy supply. Renewable energy sources like photovoltaic can contribute to make Morocco self-sufficient on energy coverage. The Kingdom of Morocco is a place of ongoing projects on sustainable energy sources in order to counteract the climate change and its consequences for the global community. Therefore, we want to put a special emphasis on renewable energy sources. We face various challenges not only nationally but also on a global order. In order to make the Sustainable Development Goals practice and create a future livable for all of us. As a delegate of Morocco, we are looking forward for a lively debate and a fruitful outcome. Thanks for your kind attention.
Thank you, delegate. And now the delegation of Spain has the floor for 1 minute.
That has the delegates, as you know, Spain is a Mediterranean country and a biodiversity hotspot. We are in the North Hemisphere and situated in a latitude where the temperatures will rise up and precipitation will probably fall down. The most critical Spanish areas are arid and semi-arid ones, where the severity of water scarcity and drought is expected to be amplified by a warmer climate. I would like to ask you, do you remember what you had for dinner last night? If you had eaten tomatoes, probably they come from Spain. We are the world's leading producer and exporter of fresh fruits and vegetables, exporting not just fruit but beautiful water as well. We have also a high flow of tourists which consume water, food, energy and all resources they have for. That's why we want to point to the needs of working globally for reducing food loss and waste, for giving the food the right price in terms of virtual water. Okay, that's why we ask for sustainable global water management, the food security program, but also environmental education, quality and consumption reduction to achieve real goals that can adapt it to local situation and through cooperation across sectors and borders. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Now the delegate of
Uganda.
Thank you. Uganda has the floor for 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Global warming has gradually influencing the ecosystem and every living through years, worsening the quality of life of all living things on the earth. Right after signature of UNFCCC, Uganda contribute by express our determination on tackling environmental problems with other governments. Uganda has various types of natural landscape and crucial natural resources, so we wish to see these precious resources to be preserved. Uganda believes that UNFCCC has great contribution towards the growth for the past decades. And it is of utmost importance that
international cooperation could be extended and expanded. Meanwhile, Uganda joined hands with our neighbor countries, Tanzania and Kenya, to combat illegal timber trade in East Africa. This is a cross-border and multi-sectoral initiative working along with UN agency and also our neighboring countries. Hereby call for all member states to align with us to enhance our influence on illegal damage on natural landscape for a sustainable future for our next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Before recognizing the Delegate of Syria, the President would like to remind all delegates that speaking to other delegates is not in order while others are speaking. The delegation of Austria, would you like to share a point? Thank you, then please refrain from laughing as well. Excuse me? Hello? Could you please stop speaking while, thank you. Now the Delegate of Syria has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to be in this conference. Air pollution and its relation to global warming. Air is an important essential element in the environment. Air consists of mixture of gases of certain ratios. When air pollution causes imbalance in these ratios, especially carbon dioxide, which rises in the air, leading to increasing global warming, leading to increase in desertification in Middle East countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Syria. Given that the opening speeches are now over, are there any motions on the floor or are there any speakers wishing to be added to the speakers list? Okay, so delegates, as a reminder, if you want to discuss a certain topic, then you would either need to raise a motion to speak on a certain topic, or you decide to just be added on the speakers list and openly speak about the topic which you see fit. So the President suggests that there is a motion on the topic of water, and whether there is a subtopic on this is up to the delegate. So are there any motions on the floor at this point? Delegate of Algeria.
Motion to start a moderated caucus to talk about water as a human right. Speakers time 1 minute, general time 30 minutes.
Speakers
time 1 minute, general time 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as for discretion of the President, and since there is a coffee break at 11:30, we will reduce the time to 25 minutes. Okay, so then everyone can go to coffee break in time. So basically, are there any objections to this motion? To the motion for a moderated caucus for 25 minutes. Speaking time 1 minute. All right, seeing that there are none, this motion passes and is in order now. Given that the delegate of Algeria has suggested this motion, would the delegate of Algeria like to speak first or last?
First, please.
Thank you, delegate of Algeria. And could the delegate repeat the topic again so we can also put it on the board?
Sure. Moderated caucus talk about water as a human right.
Thank you, delegate. All right, delegates. So which delegates would like to speak on this topic? Being water as a human right?
Just raise your placards, please, if you want.
Bulgaria. You've been recognized. Are there any other delegates wishing to speak on this topic? Seeing that there are no delegates wishing to speak on this topic at this point, Bulgaria will have the floor for 1 minute, starting now.
Thank you very much. Just a short notion on the topic is that yes, people have the rights of water, and this is a very urgent issue for the global humanity. Bulgaria want to stress, quoting recent research made in the country, that the use of water is totally a good thing for people, but the use of water and mineral water when it's not exactly necessary, we consider as a bad thing. For example, we can have in mind that using mineral water bottles, let's say 30 years ago, was something that didn't exist at all, and it was considered as a futurism or nonsense. We should find, in our opinion, ways how to raise public attention on such matters, and not only concerning water, but all environmental resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate of Bulgaria, and apologies on my mistake. I believe that the delegate of Algeria wanted to speak last, however, it was first. So, Delegate of Algeria, you now have the floor.
Honorable Chair, delegates, on July 28, 2010, the UN Assembly declared safe and clean drinking water and sanitation as a human right, essential to the full enjoyment of life and all other human rights. Can you imagine, fellow delegates, 884 million people in the world do not have access to safe drinking water. 2.6 billion people lack access to basic sanitation, 40% of the world's population. Everyone has a right to water and sanitation services that are physically accessible within or in the immediate vicinity of their household, workplace, and educational or health institutions. According to WHO, World Health Organization, the water source has to be 1,000 meters of the home, and collection time should not exceed 30 minutes. Poor world, free Wi-Fi everywhere, but no free water. Thank you. We yield our time back to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria. Are there any other delegates wishing to speak on this topic? Delegate of Singapore, you're recognized, and Delegate of Uganda. Thank you. Delegate of Brazil. Tuvalu. Thank you. Are there any other delegates? All right. Given that there are no delegates at this stage, the delegate of Singapore has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you very much. We want to stress that water management is one of the most important things that we should discuss in future, or now actually. We have managed, although we have an exceptional status, we actually don't really have viable water sources because we're such a small island state at the tip of the island. But we have managed to create systems that ensure water and ensure the recycling of water. So with the enhancement of technology and the enhancement of just thinking about where our water goes, not wasting water, it is possible to improve the worldwide situation. And I think that with exchange of knowledge, we could globally definitely improve the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Singapore. If your time is not elapsed, you need to make sure that you yield your time, whether it's a different delegate or you yield the time to the chair. And now the delegate of Uganda has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair. Uganda echo with Algeria about the importance of recognizing water accessibility associated with the human right. And actually, Uganda has already implementing certain kind of policies, such as water permitting system in our country, where we do see the challenge that, in fact, that a lot of end users, they still lack of accessibility to safe and affordable water resources due to the lack of transparent information and also financial affordability. In this case, we would like to call for other member states to maybe to deeply think about like how we can deal with the challenge in terms of sustainable financial support and as well as human resources allocation to both on national and regional levels and pose the greatest risk of the ultimately achievement of the set target. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. And now the delegate of Brazil has the floor.
Thank you. The delegation of Brazil believes that although water should not be free because we need to put a price on water, we need to make the whole thing more economically viable. We do believe that access to water needs to be expanded to all populations. In our country, which is a big country, and also in other countries equally. And this is why we are striving also for participation in water management committees. For example, in our basin, we have, for example, basin committees that manage river basins in Brazil, and we believe that participation needs to be expanded so that more people can benefit from water. We would also like to remind everyone that we need to seek economically efficient solutions that are benefiting the whole economy and that create more jobs, and we also need to take care that water is used efficiently and that land is used efficiently, and this will not be provided by free access to it. Yes, this is for the moment. Everything. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Also make sure to yield your time. And now the delegate of Tuvalu has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. I would like to stress the importance of international cooperation, as we already had to as we didn't have enough water anymore because we rely on rainwater collection. We already depended on the cooperation with New Zealand in order to get fresh water, and we would also like to stress that it is important to work together on affordable technology for desalination of water. Thanks.
Delegate, thank you. Please also make sure to yield your time if you finish your speech. So are there any other speakers wishing to be added to the speakers list at this point? Delegate of Russia, you've been recognized. Delegate of
Vietnam.
Vietnam, okay. Then the delegate of, sorry? Macedonia, thank you. Are there any other delegates wishing to speak on this topic? Luxembourg. Okay. Are there any other delegates wishing to be added at this point? Given that there are none, the delegate of Russia now has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. The delegation of Russia would like to stress that while the current topic of water as a human right is definitely important, it should be viewed in the context of other topics. For example, while of course every human being should have access to water, it is also important to protect the water for the sake of other mammals, fish, and ecosystems. And what we have seen in many different regions around the world, including Lake Baikal in Russia, is that for the sake of providing industry and humans and all parts of our society with enough water, the ecosystems are depleted. That is why the Russian Federation recently declared the Baikal territory a natural territory and therefore decreased the unsustainable use of water and we think that this should definitely be part of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Russia. Now the Delegate of Vietnam has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Vietnam would like to stress that it agrees with the delegation of Brazil in saying that water has to be carefully open to people and not as a free thing. And I'm with the delegation of Russia in saying it is important for ecosystems to be preserved. But at the same time, I think we all agree, the delegation of Vietnam thinks we all agree on saying it is a human right, and this is not the point Vietnam believes we should be discussing, but more on how we can make this become effectively implemented. Because I think the delegation of Vietnam thinks everyone believes it to be a human right. So more stressing on water demand, water supply, what are the problems. For example, stressed river basins, supply and request. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Now the Delegate of Macedonia has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. The delegation of Macedonia believes that human rights are not the main topic of this conference, and furthermore that the right for water is too complicated to be discussed within the time frame of this conference, and would therefore move for adjournment of debate. I yield the rest of the time to the President. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Now the Delegate of Luxembourg has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask if the delegation of Luxembourg may ask a question to the delegation of Brazil. Permitted.
So actually, if you are on the speakers list, you can't at this point ask a question, but rather make a statement. What you can do is that you make a statement and you mention the respective country and then hope for a reply. If not, then you can usually, if the delegate makes a speech, you can have the right to reply. So basically, when the speaker makes a speech, you rate. Once the speaker is done, you just raise your placard and say right to reply, right? So at this point, formally speaking, it's not actually possible. However, you can still clarify your point and hope that the delegate replies.
So the delegation, thank you very much. The delegation of Luxembourg does not think that water should be privatized at any circumstances, under any circumstances, because we had a lot of times the situation where the government, which has not been going well with its own population, made its own deals with other people. I mean, Nestle is the best example there. And so the population couldn't really get the water anymore because of the government's decisions to kind of privatize their water. But I also want to state that the delegation of Macedonia, that we agree with them that this is not a human rights conference, but a conference on sustainable development. Thank you very much. I'd like to yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any other delegates wishing to be added to the speakers list at this point? Delegate of Singapore. Delegate of the United States. Delegate of Trinidad. Delegate of Brazil. Are there any other delegates wishing to be added at this point? Given that there are none, the delegate of Singapore has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I want to refer what the delegate of Luxembourg just said. We strongly believe that water should be in government's hands and not privatized in any way, but government should really, like Brazil said, put a price to make it a valuable resource and to make it kind of part of the education of people, to show them that it's not unlimited. And the government also should take it to its hands, like we did, to combine forces to improve the whole water system. And because the government, in our opinion, is the only force that can really make a change without having the aspect of making it economically sustainable. I yield my time back to you.
Thank you, Delegate of Singapore. Now, the Delegate of the USA has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. This delegation just would like to stress that it doesn't agree with the Republic of Macedonia and Luxembourg, and strongly believes that water availability as a human right should be stressed within this conference, as it is related with human rights and health. And I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate of the United States. And also for all delegates, please refer to yourself as the third person. And now the Delegate of Trinidad has the floor for 1 minute.
Delegation of Sri Lanka and Tobago agrees with Russia that there are multiple users of water, and not only humans but also animals and the environment, and that these multiple uses of water needs to be managed. We also agree with Singapore that the main topic here is actually the transfer of knowledge and technology, and not that water is a human right to be used and possibly wasted in regions where there is no proper use of water. And therefore we agree with Macedonia that this talk here is far broad for this conference here. I use the rest of my time to the chair.
On the parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Russia.
The Russian Federation just checked the rules of procedure, but we couldn't find anything. How exactly? We will be writing a resolution,
yes.
Right? At what point do we do this, and what motion do I have to say so that we can exchange, so that delegates can walk around and exchange ideas and.
Okay, so basically what's possible for you, so basically everyone or the whole council should ideally write a resolution at the end. So we suggest that you first start with a working paper. Working papers do not have to have a certain format, so you can basically point out your ideas on what you think is important to solve these issues, and what you think should be the points the states present should take in their country to solve the issues at hand at this moment. And how you do this is basically usually that you as a delegate ask to suspend the meeting for a certain period of time to go into unmoderated caucus in order to find basically a group which agrees with your opinions, and for you guys to be able to write up a working paper or a draft resolution. It will, however, not be called a draft resolution at this point, because it's only called a draft resolution once we as chairs or presidents approve it. So these are basically the steps, and usually what happens is that we find we usually have more than one resolution or more than one working paper, as the answers don't match completely with one another or the ideas, but of course they can be merged at a later stage. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Russia. And yeah, now the Delegate of Brazil has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, chairs. The Delegate of Brazil would like to come back to the topic of privatization or the concerns raised in this committee. We believe this is not a topic to be discussed in this committee because it does not concern international cooperation, and we should rather discuss how we can help each other, how we can contribute technologies to each other's countries. But just to make it clear, we are not making anyone privatize their water resources. We as Brazil, with our government structure, with our needs, we found that over the past 2 decades this was a viable solution, and it was an efficient solution. And also, as you all know, there are public-private partnerships, there are partial delegations of water sewage services. So we would like to rather confirm what Vietnam said, and we have the same opinion. We should discuss water management issues, we should discuss implementation, and we should address direct issues like how we can meet ecological requirements but at the same time satisfy the growing demand worldwide for farming products. So how we can discuss irrigation on this, and as you all know, Brazil supplies all your products, so we would welcome a discussion on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Brazil. Are there any other speakers wishing to speak on the topic of water as a human right at this point? The Delegate of Algeria, Delegate of Indonesia, any other delegates? Seeing that there are none, the Delegate of Algeria now has the floor for 1 minute.
We would like to clarify to some delegations who deny that water is not a human right. We would like to invite them to take a look on what the UN declared in 28 July 2010, except if they think they don't belong to the United Nations. That's their problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria. Romania?
I would just like to reply to that. This is a technique very commonly used by politicians, which creates dissension. I don't think nobody suggested in what they said that water is not a basic human right. We all agree on that topic. But what I think we wanted to suggest is that this is not the place where we should discuss such matters. Rather, we should discuss solutions. What certain countries like islands could do in the face of increased water levels, or countries like in cities like in Africa, where they face depletion of water. Thank you.
Thank you, Romania. Would the Delegate of Algeria reply to this?
No comment.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria. Now the Delegate of Indonesia has the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, President and distinguished delegate. We understand that we're talking about water as human rights, the right to water, or more accurately, human rights to water and sanitation was recognized by the United Nations General Assembly on the 28th July of 2010. However, we believe that in this limited time frame, I think that the topic is not part of this discussion, so it will be in a separate topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Indonesia. Also for formalities, for you to understand how the right of reply actually works. So usually you would raise your placard and ask for a right of reply, and then it first has to be granted, and then you can actually reply to it. But given that a lot of you delegates are first-timers, learning through the process. So are there any other speakers wishing to speak on this topic? Okay, given that there are none, we now anyway just have 1 minute left for coffee break, so we can finish 1 minute early. So basically, just for the last point, what you now have to do is basically ask to suspend the meeting, or rather for the closure of the debate at this point in order to go to break time. So, yes, Brazil?
Brazil would like to raise a motion to suspend the meeting until the end of coffee break.
Thank you, Delegate of Brazil. Are there any objections? Delegate of Macedonia, is it an objection? Okay, so then please lower your placard at this point. Okay, well, it was basically, since we were now talking about the motion of Brazil, you cannot have a motion while a motion is being discussed. So, and given, technically speaking, you go through every single motion until we vote on a motion. So if you want to do that, we can of course do that. So Macedonia, would you still like to raise your motion now, or is it possible to do it after coffee break?
The motion was already raised previously, but I do not wish to raise it again.
Yang?
The delegation of Macedonia already raised the motion when the delegation was on the speakers list, but the chair did not answer or say anything regarding the motion.
Motion, and what was that motion?
This delegation moved to adjourn the discussion, the debate.
Macedonia, the president is not sure when you raised this motion, given that the last speaker was not you. Anyway, if they're, well, the president is not sure when this raised the motion was motion for. So
there is a remark from the Director General to this. We have recognized this motion, nevertheless, as we are basically during the general speakings list. We kindly ask you to refrain from unmoderated caucuses at this stage. Thank you.
So, that being answered twice, thank you. We will now move for the motion on suspending the meeting for coffee break. So are there any objections?
Motion to join the motion.
You can second. So basically you can say second.
No, I want to expand this motion. I want to close the topic and suspend the meeting. The delegation of Russia.
Okay, so actually it's not possible to extend a motion or to add something to a motion, so you can raise another motion and then we vote on both motions. That is also a possibility. So the delegate of Russia, you would like to raise a motion to basically close the debate on this topic and to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So given that the motion of Brazil has been raised first, we will first vote on this motion. If this motion does not pass, we will vote on the motion of the delegate of Russia. So for the motion raised by the delegate of Brazil to have a suspension of the meeting, everyone in favor of this motion, please raise your placards. Okay, this motion passes and hence the meeting is adjourned.
Before everybody leaves, is there Christina Marie Mautner in this room? Please approach the dais. And we will also send around the list. Please, I kindly ask to write your country on it so we are able to recognize everybody. Accordingly, all the documents have been uploaded on the Drive folder. Furthermore, I also kindly ask you to really practice the ROP, because tomorrow whoever is not talking in the Serb language and is not sticking to the ROP, is making mistakes, has to perform during the international night. Just to let you know in advance. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting our delegation.
They always say that. They always do like, oh, so if you don't agree with him, but this is not what you said.
It's a typical.
But yeah,
as we saw yesterday, I did basically. Okay, that guy who
Friday, don't forget. Friday,
انه اعطتني مده قالت عدلي تعال الموضوع خلاص مده قالت مده خلاص اعطتني كورس بايزر الاحتباس الحراري وتلوث الهواء بدي الاحتباس الحراري من تصحر. انا حكيت الحالة كيف الحركه شو بتعمل الابتزازات صورته هيك مو؟ انه كعضو ما في حدا شربته؟ شرب الحمد لله الله ما سوى النور.
Guten Morgen.
Es fürchten Länder Nachrichten hin und her schicken. Wie habt ihr das gemacht? Man soll draufschreiben, from to. Okay. Kriegt ihr das hin?
reason like it's all and they write their names fine, but it's individual.
والله ما لك حق يعني عم تعزمني
ده اول من عندك انا اوريك انه نسكافيه بقوم كله دعوه تشرب تذكرني تبدا طلع بقول له نسكافيه مسكر الغداء يا غدا خلاص معك نسكافيه عليك والغدا عليك يلا قوم نسكافيه عليك والغدا عليك قوم والله مش
هذا القرار مفاجئ وصادم ليس فقط للمستأجرين وإنما من المساوين أنفسهم الذين خرجوا من مساهمتهم بأعداد غفيرة مطالبة الفكر هو من اللاجئين وضمان الحياة الكريمة لهم. والآن هذه الحزمة من القوانين التي تصدر من الحكومة المعادية للاجئين وهذا القرار أمام اللاجئين وضمان الحياة الكريمة لهم. والآن هذه الحزمة من القوانين التي تصدرها هذه الحكومة الأممية المتطرفة من عدو واحد هي تعتبر تهديدا للقيم الأوروبية أولا والإنسانية التي نصت عليها قوانين اتفاقية جنيف عام 1949.
كمان تدعم كلامك اللي رقمها كذا كذا التي تنص على سطر واحد يقول لك سطر واحد هنا الجمهور ما بيعرف طبعا رقم 5000 ولا هذا الشعر شو 5000 انت وال 1400 التي نصت عليها الذي نص على
التي نصت عليها الموثوق من عام 1919.
لا الرقم
المواثيق المتحدة واتفاقية جنيف عام 1900. هلا هي الاتفاقية جنيف
التي التي وضعت معايير القانون الدولي في حقوق الإنسان.
والتي نصت
أو التي تضع معايير خاصة يعني أول شيء إنه الدعم إنه يكونوا متعلق بالمؤتمر بس هي بس انه يعني مشاركة إنسانية مشاركتها بهالعمل هذا جيولوجي مقيم بفيينا نتعرف على ناس جداد نتعرف على ثقافة تمام عن مستوى هذا من عدة خبراء من عدة دول وهذا اللي صار فعلا من دول أوروبية. يعني انه بالنسبه للمشاركه الاكاديميه انك تعرف يعني مو بس هي يعني قيمه مضافه من ناحيه يعني رسوم الاشتراك في المؤتمر وانما ايضا من كل الحالات في مجال الجيولوجي يعني وخاصه في مجال البيئه.
واشكر السيد نور الدين المقابل الرسمي
interruptions kind of emerged that show that respect the second they all look up to this because these various interruptions that really buzzes around this social programs kind of have enough necessary to go further. Like a bunch of things.
بمسكش اليوم بس بكره جاب عندك معايا
You're in the US. You don't. Can I speak with Alex for a second? I will just show him something.
Where's Florian? Florida. Yeah. He was yesterday here. Florian. He was sitting here. You're right. Yeah. No, some people are missing today. Also, it seems like there's a couple people that didn't show up today. Hopefully, it's just one day and they're gonna make it back because they miss. It's like school. I think, but
most people coming at Friday. It is in day.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. The photographer, channels, agency, news agency will coming.
So 4 o'clock today?
No, last day at Friday.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's gonna be.
Usually it's happen. When something happen, it's coming jump and the ending, finishing.
Yeah, but if people are trying to be a part of this, and if they miss a couple days and then try to get caught up, it's kind of like school where it's like building blocks. And it's like miss some stuff, it seems difficult. We're learning so much every day. We learned a lot today. This whole thing. So Friday, yeah, that's going to be a big day.
Yep.
I haven't looked at the schedule for a few months, or the agenda on everything we're going to cover. Looking forward to it. Very good. Just checking my live feed, making sure it's okay. All right.
Alex, very nice to meet you.
Yes,
I'm Elena. I was very impressed by the talk. Really spoke to me.
I was so tired.
Were you?
I was super sleepy. I was falling asleep.
But he said California. What is it, Calais?
Call it Cali. Yeah, California.
Okay, I was thinking of Calais in France. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, do you have any sort of like work, like an office or some sort of like agency that you have, like you, or is this work
All of my work is just in California, in America. I don't even have an office. I literally just go to like coffee shops all the time and take my laptop. And when I travel, I just do things when I can with my cell phone and on my laptop. I go to libraries and sometimes I study from home, sometimes I travel. So no other location. Even though I've worked on a lot of projects, I'm not at I'm like a really small company.
seems like sometimes people see my I have a really nice website and I have a portfolio and I do a newsroom and I've done all these things, but it's weird because I'm not a big company. I'm just like even my main Facebook.
Do you have someone that works for you, or?
No, I have an intern, but she only did so much for me, and a lot of my stuff's just getting a lot of attention. And because of some of my projects. So it seems like I'm a really big company, but then I'm not. Like sometimes like my ratings are really high, and it's just like my business presence looks professional. It's not just me.
And you said you didn't like just do like some courses online. Do you find like that helpful?
I wish. Well, I wish that I would have a couple degrees right now, and I'm only 2 semesters from having 2 different degrees, but I would have to continue my education for a little bit longer. And I have just jumped around to a lot of different courses that apply to my career.
It was very impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
Yesterday presentation. No. I didn't want to interrupt.
No. I was just wondering whether like it has like more of an organization level.
No, not even. Every time I go to set up an organization, I'll do the paperwork, and then there'll be a disaster, and I'll leave. And then I'll come back and be like, I'm going to start a nonprofit, and I'll get the website ready, and then something will happen, and I'll kick off. So I've never made it.
I don't remember what is your background formation?
It was, well, I have 84 units at Cabrillo College, which is a community college, taking nuclear, chemical, biological, first responder, hazmat, solar technology, renewable energy and resources, green building construction and design, so I know a lot of stuff that's maybe like basic chemistry. I've taken the EMT course. Outside of that, I've taken the EMT course, the Red Cross courses, and CERT. Still like FEMA courses online. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and done a lot of research. And then just real world experience. So trying to just learn as much as I can from different sources.
Because I am a law student currently, and so yeah, you explained me a different point of view, more technical, less legal, and it was very interesting because all the panelists had a more scientific approach. Yeah.
And they had the PowerPoints and this. They were more structured, and in disasters, nothing's structured, so you can't really always be organized.
Yes. And you appreciate it. Just
I try to keep it simple, with some of that. And I wish that I had a degree, because then I could just tell people, oh, I got a degree in this, but instead I got to work with professionals in my field, I have to have like a good portfolio to show them some of my accomplishments.
Is your organization more like a sort of like a middleman that kind of finds relief for disaster and you mediate the connection between the people affected and the other organization that can help them?
But I do everything a nonprofit does, but I'm not a nonprofit. Like I don't care about money, and I've never sold my disaster relief. I've never made money off of it, but I have done some fundraising, and I've sold some of my photography in the past. Like as a journalist. So I work on the side, doing a lot of like side projects in America, whether it's installing video surveillance system cameras, or doing security for events, or doing band equipment for shows and concerts and stuff. And I get paid really well doing all of that, like $30 US money on average, so $30 an hour, so it's really well. So I can work weekend and make a whole bunch of money and then reinvest it.
So every time you fly somewhere, you have to like finance everything, flight,
Sometimes I invest in the stock market. Sometimes I sell my book that I have. I used to sell survival kits. Sometimes I would do a fundraiser, or I would sell my journalism work, or I would I would paint some walls. I'd say like, I'll do some gardening work, or like odd jobs. Well, I got a new drone, so I fly my drone a lot, and I do aerial pictures of businesses, and I've done that a whole bunch now.
Your book, what is it about?
It's called Resource Guide to Solve Urgent Global Issues. It's about everything that we're learning in here, all of these subjects.
So is it like available online?
Yeah, it's available online.
Please take your seat. I'm really interested in reading it.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
welcome back. I hope you all enjoy your coffee break. Is it possible for a delegate of Macedonia to close the door? Thank you very much. And now we usually we would have to do roll call again to ensure that everyone is here, and whoever is not here can be recognized at a later stage. So is it possible for all delegates to again state present or present and voting? Thank you.
Algeria,
Present and voting.
Austria,
Present.
Argentina,
Present.
Bhutan,
Present and voting.
Bolivia,
Present and voting.
Brazil,
Present and voting.
Bulgaria, not present. Canada,
Present.
China,
Present.
Costa Rica,
Present.
Estonia,
Present.
Germany,
Present.
Iceland,
Present and voting.
Indonesia,
Present.
Ireland,
Present.
Italy,
Present and voting.
Luxembourg, Mali,
Present.
Nigeria,
Present.
Portugal,
Present.
Vietnam,
Present.
Romania,
Present and voting.
Russian Federation,
Present.
Samoa, Singapore, South Africa,
Present.
Sri Lanka,
Present.
Switzerland,
Present.
Republic of Macedonia,
Present.
Republic of Moldova,
Present.
Trinidad and Tobago,
Present.
Turkey,
Present and voting.
Tuvalu,
Present and voting.
United Kingdom,
Present.
United Republic of Tanzania,
Present.
United States of America,
Present and voting.
Morocco,
Present.
Spain,
Present and voting.
Uganda, Pakistan,
Present and voting.
and Syria.
Present.
And we have an observing organization, ZEC.
Present.
Okay, thank you for that. We will now open back the speakers list is now again open to speakers. And also, if there are motions on the floor, every delegate can raise a motion. Delegate of Algeria.
Motion to start moderated caucus for 90 seconds each and 20 minutes general time to talk about groundwater management in Africa.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any other motions on the floor at this point? The Delegate of Brazil.
Thank you. The delegate of Brazil would like to propose a motion of 20 minutes with an individual the speaker's time of 90 seconds on the water supply.
Would this be a moderated or unmoderated caucus?
Yes, excuse me, Chair, excuse us, please, this is a moderated caucus.
Thank you. And what was the set speaking time? Thank you, Delegate. Are there any other motions on the floor at this point? Seeing that there are none and that the Delegate of Algeria has raised a motion for a moderated caucus first, it will be voted on before the motion on water supply. So if the motion by Algeria does not pass, the motion by Brazil will be voted on. If it does pass, then it will not be. So please, delegates, all delegates in favor to have a moderated caucus of 20 minutes, speaker's time 90 seconds on the topic of groundwater management in Africa, please raise your placards now and high. Thank you. All delegates against this motion, please raise your placards now. Thank you, delegates. This motion fails. And now we will move to the motion suggested by the Delegate of Brazil on the topic of water supply for 20 minutes and speaker's time 90 seconds. All delegates in favor of this motion, please raise your placards. Thank you, delegates. This motion passes, and we are now in a moderated caucus for 20 minutes on the topic of water supply. Speaker's time 90 seconds. Since the Delegate of Brazil has suggested this motion, would the Delegate of Brazil like to speak first or last? Okay, so the Delegate of Brazil will be speaking first. Are there any other delegates wishing to speak on this topic? Delegate of Singapore. Okay, so given that there are no other speakers at this point on this motion, the delegation of Bolivia will have the floor in a second. Brazil, thank you. Sorry. Okay, the Delegate of Brazil now has the floor for 90 seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates. The Delegate of Brazil raised the motion on this topic because the delegation believes that this is a most important topic and it actually unites efforts on many other topics that we will discuss in the conference. Why? Because water supply can only be assured with appropriate reforestation measures, with appropriate soil conservation measures, providing infrastructure that supplies both companies that provide economic services for our economy and also normal people, working poor populations with water they need. And so we believe that it's very important to discuss this topic in with regard to climate change. Brazil has been hit very hard by droughts resulting from climate change, which has exacerbated the problem of water supply, also in cities. So we believe we should discuss water supply in the context of agriculture for sure. And there we also have, as Brazil, a national irrigation policy that we will be glad to share with all countries later, but also in the context of cities. So we believe we should see this in a twofold way so that we do not leave out one of the two topics, and we are looking forward to fruitful discussions and to technologies, to ways we can share this effort and provide solutions. Thank you. We yield the time back to the Chair.
Thank you, Delegate of Brazil. Now the Delegate of Singapore has the floor for 90 seconds.
Thank you very much. We want to stress again that it is the government's duty to supply water for everyone. But we also think that it's really important to ration water, especially, but not with high prices, because that would really stress an unfairness in the population. We think that a lot of countries underestimate the impacts that climate change has on water supply, and also underestimate the whole process of wastewater and fresh water standing in front of each other and having to manage both of these things to be able to supply water. I give my time back to you.
Thank you, Delegate of Singapore. Are there any other speakers wishing to be added to the speakers list at this point? Delegate of Argentina, you've been recognized. Delegate of Macedonia, been recognized. Delegate of Vietnam, also been recognized. All right. So now the delegate of Argentina has the floor for 90 seconds.
Thank you. The delegate of Argentina just wants to raise the question that actually it's also a matter of allocation of water resources and supply, and the delegate of Argentina fully agrees with Singapore that it is always a combined view of supply and sanitation to be to meet the demand of the people, and not to release wastewater untreated into the environment. And therefore we are looking for solutions, also as many neighbor countries face similar problems. Thank you. I yield my time back to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Now the delegate of Macedonia has the floor.
Thank you. In the following year, increasing atmospheric temperatures will intensify evaporation. Major disruptions are said to occur in the hydrological cycle, including changes in the timing and intensity of rainfalls and the flow of water in watersheds. Snowmelt and mountain runoff, a major source of water, will be drastically reduced, leading to serious shortages. We agree with the government of Singapore that governments are mainly responsible to ensure that every country has a steady and safe supply of water. Therefore, we have already taken steps in direction and would like to encourage the other countries to follow. Such steps would, for example, include modification of the existing irrigation and water supply systems to reduce water losses and application of technologies for water reuse, inventory and GIS mapping of existing wells for utilization of groundwater, and construction of a system for transferring water between basins, as well as modernization of the hydrometeorological network. Thank you. This delegate yields the time back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate of the Republic of Macedonia. Now the delegate of Vietnam has the floor.
Thank you. We would like to stress two problems regarding water supply. Technical problems. The first one is, technical problems. So as regards to Vietnam, we have a shortage of technicians, experts to face these problems and to know how to face these problems, so to know how, and we would like to implement a method or at least a discussion on how this method could be made to make an intergovernmental education and problem resolution for this. And the other issue is also that water supply is connected to intergovernmental problems too. For example, Vietnam has 6 rivers coming from neighboring countries, which are also stressed basins, and that should also be looked upon. I yield my time back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Also, please ensure that you refer to yourself in the third person. And delegate of Singapore, would you like to be added to the speakers list?
I'd like to respond to the delegate of Vietnam.
Yes, right to reply. That is in order.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that by improving international relations, you could solve both problems. Both, if you have a better relationship to your neighboring country, we have the same problem. Our river the river that comes to us goes through Malaysia. And if we have problems with Malaysia, they cut off the river. So if we improve the international relations, it will be able to secure the demand of water we have. And also, by improving international relations, you could exchange knowledge and therefore help to educate your own people in your own countries. Thank you. I yield my time back to you.
Would the delegate of Vietnam like to reply?
I thank the delegate for her contribution, and yes, we believe discussion on international relationships and making them better is a solution, and we would like to implement that together.
Thank you, delegate of Vietnam. Are there any other speakers wishing to be added to this speakers list at this point? Delegate of Samoa, you've been recognized. Delegate of Bolivia. Are there any other delegates wishing to be added to this list? Given that there are none at this point, the delegate of Samoa has the floor for 90 seconds.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I would just, Samoa would really appreciate also help from international cooperation because we have really limited resources and old infrastructure. And yeah, there's still a lot to do. We need to replace our old pipes and utilize new technology and extend our network in order to ensure the access to clean and reliable water for our citizens, and also around our capital and Apia, where 45,000 people live. We are really dependent on the surface water that is coming from our rivers in the country. But due to climate change, this will become less, and even droughts will become more frequent. So we would really appreciate if we could somehow make an agreement where we could also get the knowledge on technology from other countries and the support. Thank you.
Would the delegate of Samoa like to yield the time?
Yes, I yield the time to you.
Thank you, delegate. Now the delegate of Bolivia has the floor for 90 seconds.
So I would like to elaborate also on what the previous speaker said from Samoa. So some countries like Bolivia are quite affected by the problem of water scarcity in the face of climate change, and our country in particular does not have the capacity in terms of knowledge and also not in terms of financial issues to improve very well and to adapt very well in terms of water scarcity and climate change. That is why especially we would like to ask for international cooperation, especially in terms of knowledge transfer, in terms of water supply, like piping methods, especially in rural areas where it is much harder for the local population to have secure access to water. So far to this topic. So we would be happy to have support this internationally, because also the problem of climate change is not primarily caused by our small country, but we are highly affected. Thank you. I would like to pass the time on to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate of Bolivia. Also, as a reminder to all delegates, please refer to yourself in the third person. Are there any other delegates wishing to be added to the speakers list on the topic of water supply? Delegate of Iceland. Delegate of Austria.
delegate of Russia. Okay, so now the delegate of Iceland has the floor for 90 seconds.
Thank you. The delegate of Iceland acknowledges the global water crisis, and given the fact that Iceland is enjoying rich water resources due to the Europe's largest ice cap, Vatnajökull, we are wondering about potential possibilities of exporting such water. We'd like to ask fellow delegates to propose suggestions or solutions of environmentally sustainable possibilities of transferring water to affected areas. Thank you. I'd like to yield my time back to you.
Thank you, delegate. Please also refer to yourself in the third person. And now, delegate of Austria has the floor for 90 seconds.
Thank you very much. The delegate of Austria would like to point out or agree with the statements regarding the importance of support to neighboring countries and the international community from countries that are in a position to transfer knowledge to other countries or to organize training courses, as it was done in the swim training courses regarding water management policies and practices in the Southern Mediterranean region between 2016 and 2019. We yield the back time to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Now, the delegate of the Russian Federation has the floor for 90 seconds.
Thank you, dear Chair. The Russian Federation would like to, first of all, express their that they generally agree with what the other delegations just proposed, and think that the exchange of technology is very important, and there should be and we are open to discussing an international dialogue and a permanent international institution to support that dialogue. However, we would still like to stress that managing the supply of the water supply of their citizens and industry and their nations as a whole is a duty of each government. Accordingly, we would like to, while we are open, of course, to Iceland exporting their water, like to definitely state that the Russian Federation does not and will not offer such services, although we do have a lot of, or we expect to have no problems with water supply in the future. We expect other nations to work on their behalf by using technology that we're very happy to offer. Thank you. We yield the time back to the chair. Sorry.
Thank you, delegate of Russia. Are there any other speakers wishing to be added to the speakers list? Delegate of the United States. Delegate of Romania. Delegate of Tuvalu. Yes, is that correct? Sorry, excuse me, delegate. Could you raise your placard again? At the back. Okay, thank you. Given that the maximum number of speakers has been met at this point for the speakers list, we will now continue with the three last speeches. If there are delegates wishing to extend this moderated caucus, it is also possible for delegates to raise a motion to extend the moderated caucus after the three speakers have spoken. So just keep this in mind for once Tuvalu has spoken. Thank you. And now the USA has the floor.
Thank you very much. Even if the majority of people living in the United States has a reliable supply of safe water, this delegation strongly believes that we have a duty of solidarity to which countries who are facing this kind of problems, and that in order to do this, we also believe in the importance of sharing opportunities and ideas to make people not dealing with water scarcity aware of this problem. we should also think about the importance of implementing technology out there that allow to recycle rainwater, and we hope in an active commitment by developed countries to ensure that the rest of the world is able to conserve water. We also believe in the importance of the transmission of skills and of financial resources to the developing country. And I yield my time back to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate of the United States, also referred to yourself in the third person. Now the Delegate of Romania has the floor for 9 seconds.
Thank you. The delegate of Romania agrees with what the delegate of the United States said about rainwater catchment. Especially, this is an important measure that countries with frequent rain showers can implement quite easily, I suppose. I guess on a public level, smart meter introduction will also assist with the control of that public households controlling their water level, because they will be incentivized to use less, since they will pay less money on their water bill. Also, I think on an individual level, each country should look at what industry is using most of the available water resources. For example, if it is agriculture, then they could look at alternative solutions such as the ones that were discussed yesterday to increase the yield with using less resources, and not necessarily increase the amount of resources used to increase the yield. And also it should be imposed on institutions such as universities and even public institutions such as governmental buildings and research facilities to better regulate their water use. This delegate knows from experience that the scientific research departments use a lot of resources. And last point, local governments should assist community projects focused on improved infrastructure for water saving.
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate. Now the Delegate of Tuvalu has the floor for 9 seconds.
Thank you. As we are at an international conference, it is really important to work together on our problems, and especially in every part of the world we have maybe different problems, but it's important that the ones who face similar ones work together, as we have the Pacific Adaptation to Climate Change project of the Pacific Regional Environment Program. I want to add this information to what was stated by Samoa, and I look forward to get some technology know-how from Russia.
Thank you, Delegate. Given that this caucus is now elapsed, are there any motions on the floor? Brazil?
Thank you. The delegation of Brazil would like to raise a motion to extend the previous caucus by 5 minutes.
Yes, that is in order. Are there any objections? Given that there are none, this motion passes, and it is now extended for 5 minutes. Are there any speakers wishing to be added to the speakers list? Delegate of Brazil. Delegate of Indonesia. Delegate of Estonia. Okay, so now the delegate of Brazil will have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with what the delegation of Brazil stated before, we would like to concretize the debate and propose concrete solutions. And as we have stated, we would like to see measures on both agricultural topics as well as rural areas and urban areas. So we would like to stress the need, for example, for natural infrastructures, which means that we need to restore forests and wetlands. We need to restore the catchment areas around cities, so that the water supply of cities in times of climate change is assured. We also have initiatives by the World Resources Institute worldwide. We have local initiatives in Brazil, for example, NGOs that provide technical assistance to more than 300 landowners, for example, supporting national area conservation. And this brings together rural development and water stewardship. So we would like to see more ideas on natural infrastructure and not only grey infrastructure in water management, and also to again come back to the other aspect of it, the rural development. We believe that yes, we need privatization, we need companies to come in, but where there are no companies willing to take over a rural water supply, we need federations of community associations, and they have been working very productively in Brazil in managing local water systems. And these are often supported by companies, there are public-private partnerships, and there are state institutions that support these local associations. So we need to think in a broad way on different areas, rural, agriculture, urban, and also to include many actors, so the state, companies, and local associations. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Brazil. Now the Delegate of Indonesia has the floor.
Thank you, Chief. Delegate of Indonesia, we agree that we need to have a mutually beneficial collaboration for exchange technology, capacity building in terms of public-private partnership among the countries for water resource management. Because Indonesia is basically a country rich in fresh water, has enough to potentially provide the whole of its population with drinking water. The natural resources of drinking water are not equally distributed of its entire inhabited islands. However, leaving some areas to experience water scarcity, while others have an abundance of water. With as many as 6,000 inhabited islands, distribution and the provision of adequate infrastructure pose challenges. Without irrigation of natural rainfall, the risk of crop failure also increases, threatening food security. Thank you. This is back to Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Indonesia. Now the Delegate of Estonia has the floor.
First, I will have a question to the chair. Is it okay to kind of react to something that was mentioned by a delegate before?
Of course, so every delegate is able to mention whatever has.
Thank you. So I would like to react to something that the delegate of Russia has mentioned about that the task of providing water should be of each government themselves, which sounded like not trying to take responsibility. And the delegate of Estonia thinks that developed countries should take responsibility in the water supplies of worldwide, because we have contributed to the climate change in a significant way, and this affects countries such as Algeria that lack water, and will continue to lose their water supplies. And I acknowledge and support the idea of the delegate of Russia that they support the technical transfer, but I just disagree with this notion in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Estonia. Please ensure that you always refer to yourself in the third person. Also, this moderated caucus is now elapsed. Are there any motions on the floor at this point? Russia?
Motion to motion to expand the time, the discussion time. Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
Which motion do I have to pose to expand the discussion time?
Yes, so basically the motion would be extending the time. However, now that you have asked for this motion will be overruled by the President, given that lunch break is at 12:30 and now it's 12:31. So are there any other motions on the floor?
Point to appeal the decision of the President. The Russian Federation would like to directly react to the points made by the Honourable Delegate of Estonia, which is why the Russian Federation would like to move to expand the time.
Okay, so what's possible is that we say that we have the lunch break at 12:45 instead. However, I would vote on this, so everyone in favor of this, please raise your placards. Okay, this passes, and we will have lunch break instead at 12:45. So now we will then vote on the motion to extend the debate or the moderated caucus for another, how long was it, Russia?
I guess the Russian Federation guesses that it would suffice to extend the meeting until 1:45.
Great. So that would be 13 minutes. So please, everyone in favor, raise your placards. All right, this motion passes, and therefore the moderated caucus on water supply is extended. Are there any speakers wishing to speak on this topic? The delegate of the Russian Federation. Vietnam, Germany, Austria, and Singapore. Great, so the delegate of the Russian Federation has the floor now for 90 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. The Russian Federation would like to directly react to the remarks made by the delegate of Estonia and would like to clarify their position. The Russian Federation, while we do have vast amounts of fresh water, we believe that it's every country's own duty to ensure the supply for each citizen and each industry. And the reason is, and there are separate reasons to be honest. The first one is exporting water into other countries is not sustainable. The second one is exporting water to other countries makes countries incredibly dependent on those countries exporting the water. And the Russian Federation does not believe that most countries would be willing to go into such kind of a dependence, I guess. Yeah. And the last point is that when you have a look around the globe, the countries that cope with problems in water supply are often the countries with large agriculture. And the reason that it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons why they have the problems with water supply is because they use a lot of fresh water for their agriculture. And instead of just us shipping fresh water someplace so that they can use it, we should think about better and more responsible water management. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate of Russia. The delegate of Trinidad, thank you. Would this be a yes?
I'd like to make a direct comment to Russia.
A right to reply? Yes, please.
We would like Russia to remind Russia that water is a finite resource and that they have to take into consideration downstream users of the water, and that it is not right for them to be able to use their water resources without consideration of the pollution and the limitation of the quantity for downstream users. And that it is up to other countries which want to depend on countries which are water rich for their supply. That's up to them. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Would the Russian Federation like to reply to this too?
Yes. First off, the Russian Federation doesn't really understand the point of the delegate because we never discussed how we are managing our water resources, and if the delegate wants to make a statement on that, we're open to it. However, that was not part of our statement. And secondly, the Russian Federation does not try to enforce any seas on to other nations. However, we wanted to raise this issue because we thought that this was important. Moreover, we want to recognize that the delegate of Estonia also spoke on behalf of the delegation of Algeria, and the distinguished delegate did not seem to have a problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you,
I'll
delegate.
yield the time back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Now the delegate of Vietnam has the floor.
Thank you. The delegation of Vietnam welcomes Russia's offer for technical assistance and also agrees partially on what Russia has said, but partially also with the delegation of Trinidad on the need of a sustainable management of upstream water supplies. Not that there was a contradiction, but on the importance of this issue. The delegation of Vietnam would like to ask if there are any other countries willing to make an offer similar to the Russian delegation and of a possibility of an international agreement to be implemented. Furthermore, on another point, the delegation of Vietnam would like to ask the delegation of Brazil clarification on what was meant for national plans on water supply and how to bring that together with an international plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, delegate of Vietnam. For clarification, if you have a speech, you are not allowed to finish with a question, so you have to formulate it in a sentence. Okay, just for future references. Okay, so now the delegate of Germany has the floor.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to thank Brazil to raise up this very important topic. Although Germany is a very water-rich country, in the past we also faced some problems, and we solved them. We solved them with engineering efforts, and there is a big knowledge existing in our country. We implemented successfully the approach of integrated water resources management, where there also exists a lot of knowledge, and we really welcome the idea of the Russian Federation to implement the international platform where we can share the knowledge, and Germany is here for you. No, what is it? I will yield the time back to the.
Thank you, delegate. Also, please refer to yourself in the third person. And now the delegation of Austria has the floor.
The Republic of Austria would like to support Macedonia on their statements, as the international community has referred itself and has committed to common but different responsibilities. We'd like to point out that it's still important for the international community to support other countries with know-how and technical know-how. This is not about exporting water to other countries, but this is about implementing common measures and common education, as stated in Article 9 of the Rio Protocol, that we have to, as an international community, work together to implement the stable use of water resources. And this is, again, said not about exporting water only, but about implementing common measures. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate of Austria. Now the delegate of Singapore has the floor.
Thank you. As we are the world leaders in water technology, it has also always been our goal to share our knowledge with developing countries and other countries that face problems with water shortage. But we're also convinced that water export and import is never a solution. Like the Russian Federation stressed, it is always a dependence that lies behind it. And you can do it, in our opinion, we imported water for a long time, but it cannot be the main source of water. You have to develop your own technologies in your own country well, not your own technologies, but you have to develop your own systems in your own country and your own experts to be able to manage your own water crisis with the help internationally, sure, but you can't be dependent on countries like Russia. Furthermore, sorry, but it's true. And furthermore, it's also really important for countries like Russia to have an educational system that stresses the importance of water not being a source that you can waste, or that you can just do whatever you want with it because you have enough, like to maintain the water resource in downstream countries, like another delegate said before. Thank you. I yield my time back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Would the delegate of East Russian Federation?
Right of reply?
Yes.
Right to reply, I guess. Just one sec. The Russian Federation welcomes the remarks of the delegate of Singapore, but would like to stress that the Russian Federation does educate their people on the importance of water and of sustainable water use. And actually, as already mentioned, the Russian Federation just recently implemented many measures to further protect our water bodies and to use them sustainably, and not like other nations would have them just build pipelines to nations like China and just not sustainably use our water resources. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate of the Russian Federation. Would the delegate of Singapore would like to comment on this?
Yes, I would. It wasn't a direct, it wasn't a direct thing to you. Said it was that education, it has to be worked on education because it's a global problem, and countries with a lot of water mostly don't have the thinking that water has a limit and that everybody has to save water even though you have enough. And that's not just for Russia, that's for all countries with enough water and that don't have the problem sticked in their face. Thank you very much. I yield the time back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Please also be reminded to refer to yourself in the third person. And given that there are 2 minutes left to 12:45, and yes, delegate of Spain.
The delegate of Spain agrees with this.
Delegate, would you like to be added to the speakers list, or would you like to raise a motion, or?
No, it's just talking about the same statement of.
Okay, so you can be the last. Yeah. You can be the last speaker on this topic, and then we will go into motions. Yes.
Okay, so the delegate of Spain agrees with the statement of Germany and Singapore, and just like these countries in terms of water management, Spain has a great experience in water supply, water technology like desalination, and water resources management in arid and semi-arid regions. Otherwise, it is important to remind the last World Water Development Report of the United Nations, which is focused on natural-based solutions for water management. The delegation of Spain is also agreed in an international agreement, and we offer our know-how and are open to exchange our technology to be adapted in other countries with these needs. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, delegate. And given that it's 12:45 now, this moderated caucus has elapsed. Are there any motions on the floor? Delegate of Macedonia.
Motion to suspend the debate for lunch break.
Yes. Are there seconds? Okay. Great. Any objections? Great. Seeing that there are none, this motion passes, and we're now in lunch break.
Before everybody leaves the room, I kindly ask you to be seated for one more minute. Yeah, I see great debates. It's very great to see actually that everybody would be involved. So I also kindly ask all the other parties to join the debate and the discussion, as there have been some silent. And also if you are 2 people in one delegation, it's also possible, or it should be that the other person also speaks. It's supposed to be like this. That would be highly appreciated. As there was a bit of confusion about countries and switches, that's why we sent around this list. In this regard, some people only signed it, which was not the purpose of this list, but thanks a lot for your signatures again. In this regard, I have to ask Christoph, which country are you representing? Okay, thank you. Rebecca, Vietnam. Wiebke, Samoa.
David?
Yes.
So maybe just let the...
No, it's fine now. We are done. We are already done. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
About this, just short about the outline. We're going to watch, like already announced by 4:30, Guardians of the Earth. Then we have at 8 o'clock the reception at Hook. It's in Währinger Straße 59. The people, the 2 ladies here, 2 shadows, Sabi and Becky, are going to assist you. They are going to bring you there. It's enough time if we have the meeting place at here in front of Gate 1 again at Vienna International Center. For those who don't know the place, for those who know the place, of course, you can go there individually. That's about this. Yeah, then we have the discussion with the filmmaker Malinowski there about his movie Guardians of the Earth at this place. That's about the outline. Okay, as I've forgotten with the tours through VIC, there's been a short change in the schedule. We are going to do this tomorrow on Wednesday. So just about this. Once more, my apologies. Just a little reminder for those who haven't paid yet the €5. Really apologies. Please address Gabi in this regard. Sorry. Okay. Then I wish you a good lunch break. We are back here by 2:15. This is fine for everybody. Okay, thank you. See you. Bye.
Always personal stories always come up in conversations like this.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it just made it already funny because they wouldn't get rid of the challenge situation. Sì, io non